Okay. Click 1 if you're present, please. Is that everyone? We have a count of 23 people present today. Moving on with the agenda, additions, deletions, and/or clarifications to the day, the order of the day. Do I hear any motions for amendments? Senator Johnson?
Senator Johnson, Art and Sciences. I want to move to shift the resolution in memory of Mary Lou Harkness, in memory of victims of the University of California, Santa Barbara, before confirmations.
Are there any objections to Senator Johnson's motion? Okay, so this has been moved. Any other motions? Senator Johnson.
I also want to move to add SBA 002 to the agenda.
Any objections? Seeing none, SBA 55002 has been added to the agenda. Okay, moving on. Additions, deletions, and/or changes to the minutes. There have not been any minutes sent out yet. So do I see any motions? Senator Hibba.
Motion to delay.
Any objections to postponing minutes? Seeing none, we'll postpone minutes and move on with the agenda. Certified Student Leader Program presentation. Take it away, Ms. Morgan.
Hi, Senators. It's very dapper tonight. It's good to see everybody. This is Chris Leary, and he is with the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement, and he's going to talk to you guys about the Certified Student Leader Program. Many of you probably already have qualifications to be involved in this program, and so we wanted to get this before you, both for possibly you to become involved and also to educate your friends in the program. And fun fact, Chris Leary will also, he's a graduate student here at USF, and he's going to be interning with student government next year, so similar to Catherine and Evan, this won't be his graduate assistantship, but he will be with us throughout the next year. So I'll let President program.
Thank you, Jessica. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I'm doing great. I was having conversations with Jessica before we started, and I'm fascinated by just like the first 5 minutes that I see of you all here. So I'm definitely, as an intern, I'm definitely going to have to come in and just watch and observe and see what you guys all go through. You're a fascinating bunch, and the process is fascinating. It's also the first time I've done the Pledge of Allegiance standing up in like a classroom setting since probably 5th grade. So that was pretty cool as well. But I am, as Jessica said, I am a first year, I guess now second year graduate student. I'm in the Center for Leadership and Civic Engagement. And I'm here to talk to you about one of the leadership opportunities that we have within our office. And the reason that I'm talking to you about this today is because it's something that you guys probably are already pursuing, even if you do not know that you're pursuing it at all. So the program that I'm talking about is the Certified Student Leader Program. I recognize a few faces, a few people today. Raise your hand if you're a part of that program in one way or another. So we got a few. Some of you might mean you don't even know it. That's okay. Well, we can clarify that. So the Certified Student Leader Program is a self-paced leadership certificate program that really concentrates on helping you all gain those leadership skills that you have, that you're learning through student government and other involvement on campus. There's also involvement in service opportunities, as well as you're required to what we call make meaning of that experience by meeting with a leadership coach, someone who you value, who you see as a leader, to kind of bring it all together to make meaning of that. So the flyers that are going around kind of gives you a little bit of a brief overview of the program. Has anyone in this room taken a leadership course before, or is anyone getting a minor in leadership studies here? Great. So those of you who have raised your hand are already a third of the way done with the program, and you didn't even know it. The rest of you all, even if you're not in a leadership studies class, as student government senators, I can assure you that you probably spend more than 48 hours a semester working for student government. Am I correct? Is that no? Nobody said anything. Yes, sir. So with that being said, all of you in here are already almost a 1/3. If you've taken a leadership class and you're in here, you're 2/3 done with the Certified Student Leader program. So I don't say that to make it sound easy or to make it sound not legitimate, because it is definitely a legitimate program, but it's something that a lot of students don't realize that they can do, even though they're already doing it. So I would challenge you all today to think about joining the program. Like I said, it is self-paced, so you can start tomorrow and end in a semester, or be like Gustavo there, who's been in it for how many years? 2 years. Who knows where he's at? So, but you can definitely. It's self-paced. It's relatively simple. The flexibility is open, and it's a really great opportunity. And of course, it looks great on a resume. You are a certified student leader at the campus of USF, and it's just a great opportunity for you all. As another perk, you would get to work with me all the time, and that would be pretty fun. And then we also have other seminars and services through the center that you guys can be involved in. But if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. Again, my name was Chris Leary, and I can answer any questions. I'm downstairs on the very first floor, so come say hi, give me a high five, whatever. If you have some free time, if you want to talk, I'm always here. But do you have any questions before I leave today? Yes, sir.
So you said that if you'd taken the leadership course, you would have a third of the way done, right? So I'm guessing course implies that you have to be in front or take a class, right? Go to a class and have a teacher, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way that you can, I guess, like teach yourself? Is there any material in which you can do that?
No. The reason I say no is because we like for the classes to be grounded in leadership theory. And not that you don't know theory, and not that you aren't qualified to teach yourself theory, but we like a lot of times for it to be taught by teachers who have a knowledge of theory, have a knowledge of the leadership principles that are essential to that program. So, in a short answer, no. If you are not able to take a leadership course, though, due to scheduling, tuition and fees, I mean, they're changing a lot with how many classes you can take in a semester. We offer a book course through our office. It's not credit bearing. It's a 5-week program, which it's based off 7 habits of highly effective leaders. And so you read the book, and then there are discussions, projects, and not tests, but little assignments to go along with it. So that also can satisfy, but that's only if you can't take a leadership course. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So how do you define student leader?
Is this an interview? Man, I think for me, I'm not prepared for this, but I think for me, a student leader who is someone who's willing to grow and to learn. I think everyone has the skill set to be a leader, honestly. They just need to sharpen their skills. They need to learn what their strengths are. They need to understand what they can personally bring to a leadership situation. For me personally, I'm a relationship builder, so my #1 focus in leadership development is creating relationships. So for me, leadership is about motivating and encouraging those around you to get involved and to do different things. So for me, understand your strengths and bring people together, among other things. I mean, I think there are a huge skill set that can be available, but me personally, as someone who really values relationships and collaboration and working with others, that would be my biggest thing. I think you're preparing me for a job interview. Next week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Maybe so. Any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank you so much for giving me your time. Hopefully, I will see some of you this semester, actually this year, as I intern with you all, and keep it going. Y'all do great, great things, and I'm excited to see what happens this year. So thanks, y'all. Y'all have a great night. Are there any flyers left?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down the agenda, we have legislative branch reports. We'll start with special funding. Cory, you up?
Hey everyone, so last week in our committee, we actually went over practice travel grants that we were ready for this coming up week, because this coming up week we're going to have 3 travel grant requests for this coming up year that we're going to go through. We also elected a new vice chair, so congratulations to Senator Camino.
Okay, appropriations and audits, Senator Johnson.
Thank you very much. We were really busy these past several weeks. Our committee meeting yesterday finally passed through our first interim budget request after almost an hour conversation, which I think almost set a record. We set aside a lot of standards, not set aside, we set up a lot of standards. We really started developing a process that we can use, and it was really productive. We also went through with 2 budget transfer requests for the additional grants and for both radio, which is great. Going forward, though, we do still have a couple other organizations that have budget requests pending, and senators are diligently working on that to communicate with them in a way that we can all have a little bit more accountability. So it's going great so far.
Okay, judiciary and ethics, Senator Trump.
So last week we went over constitutions, the templates that we have, so all the committee members can learn about them. We don't have Jace this week, so just to make sure all of you guys know that. But the week after we'll be doing confirmations. We approved our SOPs and we elected a vice chair, so congratulations to Senator Gonzalez.
Committee on rules, Senator Malanga.
Good evening, Senate. So Senator Anto's going to be a little bit late. I was elected as vice chair. That's one thing that happened in the meeting. We'll start with that. We also did an icebreaker. Where was my about trying to explain why I was talking. We also found out during our icebreaker that Senator Mills is a big fan of romantic comedies. So I wanted that on the minutes for this one too. In addition, we got through 2 bills that we will be seeing tonight. First one is on confirmation procedure, and we'll talk about that later. And the second one is the LAST Act, which our pro tempore is very proud of the acronym, is regarding Lakeland's organizational structure this year. So we'll see that later.
Thank you. And last but not least, I'm blanking out right now. Oh, UCGA, Senator
Hi,
Cutler.
Jordan. I am the vice chair for UCGA. I was elected last week. We also last week went over a lot of the university-wide committees that we're going to start putting an application out. That's still the process. This week we started talking about our first 10th day, which is going to be on the 24th. It's going to talk a lot about internships, and I have a sign-up sheet for any senators that want to participate on that day event. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if you can be there, I appreciate that. Other than that, nothing else really went on. But thank you.
President Pro Tempore Aziz.
Say, sign up for the 10-day, you get positive points. So I'll pass it around. In terms of positive points, the first 2 events we had so far, the bag stuffing and orientation. Senators are attended are doing a lot of positive points, so you guys should be receiving your prizes soon. So you guys are doing a good job. And for the future, when we have more events, there's more orientation sessions. You want to sign up for that and get more points. Other than that, just to recap some things we've been working on for the center retreat. Andy's planning that. And in terms of logos, student government, we approved new logos for different uses because the logo is kind of fixed, and if a student organization wants to use it for a small item, the logo wouldn't fit properly. So we're drafting down legislation. We're having a style book. And Mr. Mikowski and the marketing department is working on different logo style books and usage. So we have more rules of how logo can be used and restrictions for it. So that's in terms of Lakeland, the executive branch and us work together to figure out a new structure for that's efficient for Lakeland. We're also getting new computers in the student government office. So there should be a new computer for the Senate. All the chair people get a new one, and should be a new front desk computer as well. Working on digitizing documents. So that's what we're trying to get rid of the paperwork that we have, the old paperwork. And one thing recently we did today was we had a meeting with Dr. Edmund Jones Miller, that's in CSI downstairs, about WorkSync. Something that all student organizations and have to move on to for organization management, picking your roster and stuff. So just to keep you guys posted, the deadline for that is pretty much going to start in the fall semester. During the summer, we're going to have a training period. So if you have friends or people asking you about, okay, what the WorkSync is, you'll be able to explain That's like the new version of Blackboard to manage all your student organizations, roster and attendance and all that stuff. And other than that, we have a new Center of the Month for the month of May. So congratulations to Mr. Malango. At the beginning, you should get an next Senate, just like a gift card from Barnes & Noble. So congratulations. Also, we are in need of a sergeant at arms. So if you'd like to be the person with the charge of the clickers, make sure like the door no one like rushes in. If you want to make sure no one's on Facebook, just send an email to Andy or myself. And if there's more than one person, you can like draw it out of a hat or something. Decide. Other than that, that's it. For myself.
Okay, for me, a couple of things I've been doing. I sat in on the interviews for Solicitor General. Aziz and I have also been working on hiring 2 new transcribers for the Senate. I also sat in on a meeting for a off-campus housing website that USF is going to be adopting soon, which is pretty cool. Last week, I traveled to UCF with President Coco and attended the Florida Student Association meeting. And President Coco was actually elected as the external chair for the Florida Student Association. So, I also sat in on the OrgSync meeting with Ms. Miller and other people from SGE, as well as we've also met with the lobbyist for USF, Mark Walsh, which is pretty cool. I've also met with the OFSL, and we got the contract from the Buccaneers, and we sent it to the legal office for USF. So we're in the process of getting that confirmed. And the last thing, and this is important, so everyone please pay attention, is I'll be sending this out in the next report, but the July 8th Senate meeting is no longer happening. It's been canceled just because there's no need. And, well, Greg should, okay, we'll talk. But as of right now, it's canceled. Just because, like I said, there's no need, and as of right now, we also don't have a place to do it. So, any questions for anyone? I see no questions, so we'll move down the agenda. Executive branch report, President Coco.
Word. Right.
Yeah, we'll talk, man. Mark Harlan's supposed to come today.
I didn't know that.
We'll figure it out. And we don't have a location. We'll talk. Maybe we can do athletics.
We can't.
We'll talk to players. All right.
He said no.
We can't? Oh, we'll figure it out. We'll find a spot. All right. For the exec branch report, our transition team has been working hard. Danny Christopher has been working on minutes. He's been doing some outreach. We're trying to build the legal aid network. So he's been doing that. We went to a candidate forum with a bunch of judges, and we met some good USF people, USF alums, who are willing to participate in our legal aid network to students. He's been transitioning the appointed Attorney General, Mr. Johnson, and they both have been working with the court on practicing parking appeals for this upcoming summer and fall. And he's also been revising statutes and attending orientation. Burke has been working on hiring. He's our hiring guru. He's been snaps. It's a lot of work. Snaps is work. Today, he wrapped up Solicitor General and Communications, and we're moving on to programming, government affairs, and all that good stuff. He's been working on the student memorial, and he's also been working on orientation. Alex Johnson, he's been doing resolutions. He's been working on documents, statutes, parking appeals, pretty much the same thing Danny's been doing. He's written the resolutions that we're going to see today, so thank you for that. And I believe he's going to be working with your committee on teaching senators how to write resolutions as well. Maggie and Joe have been working on orientation. They've been working on the website. They've been working on street team. How many people signed the orientation? quorum yesterday? 96 students signed up, so that's great. We sent out an email to the students about wanting to get involved in student government. Glow in the Park is July 11th, so we're going to be providing buses from campus to the Riverfront Park, so you guys could have fun at the Glow in the Park event. We glow everything, glow dodgeball, glow frisbee, and all that. So that's good. Our art shirts came in. They're on sale right now at the bookstore for $5. So that's good. Along with our lanyards for new students. So those are good. Forbes, our CFO appointed, has been working on purchasing orders for everything. Glow in the Park. He's been working on providing requests for our travel to Board of Governors next week and all that good stuff. He's working on our interim budget that we're going to present to Johnson's committee next Monday. And also he's been looking at Bull-to-Bull financial literacy. It's a program hosted here in our financial aid department. And he's going to be working with them to create workshops for students to hopefully get them more literate when it comes to finances. And also he'll be working with the Office of National Scholarships. Message from our marketing team: those who want to turn in graphics or any marketing requests, we please ask you that you have it 2 weeks before the deadline that you're looking to have the event. That way it gives us time to make any edits and work with the bureaucracy that we have to go through, etc. And he's helping out the Senate with their retreat shirts, so I look forward to that. And he did the orientation video. Okay, today Andy and I and Aziz met with our university lobbyist, Mark Walsh, to talk about some of the stuff that happened this past legislative session. So USF got a lot of what we wanted. We got our College of Business in St. Pete funded, a good portion, our Hart Institute, in-state tuition for veterans, in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants. It was a good year overall for the state university system. Overall, the SUS system was allocated $4.35 billion for the entire system. So that's good news for higher ed. And we're also going to be working with our lobbyists, Corcoran and Johnson, on planning district visits to our representatives, visiting them in their offices to build relationships with their people. Andy and I and Aziz have been working, and Sammy actually as well, we're going to be forming a strategic plan committee to work on our strategic goals for the year for student government, kind of like a strategic plan for where do you want to see student government this next year. So that will be coming up soon. Through executive order, I'm going to be calling an athletics task force to work with athletics to get more engaged with our athletics department, to get them more engaged over here on this side of campus. I have a meeting with Commissioner Merman, who's the county commissioner. She's in charge of the commission, so I'll be talking with her tomorrow about getting more students involved with the county commission and whatnot. Title VII, I believe, is going to be called soon, the elections process committee. So I look forward to that. And Thursday, Andy, myself, and a few others will be going to the Thank the Legislators reception at Campbell's to thank our state legislators for being so kind to our state university system. And a couple more things. I know it's long, but I'm telling y'all what we're doing. It's important. I was at the White House this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, the National Campus Leaders Conference, and we were talking about financial affordability and sexual assault. So one thing I'm going to be working with wellness on is a sexual assault kind of awareness week, where we focus on safety, best practices on sexual assault, so that we're aware of that issue on campus. 1 in 5 people are sexually assaulted throughout their time here in college, and that needs to stop. This past Monday, I had a meeting with our accreditation service, SACS, and they're looking to come in this next year to make sure that we're accredited to their university. If we lose accreditation, that's not good. We have a new dean of the School of Medicine, Charles Lockwood from Ohio State and Yale. He's excited. Ali just left, so that's good. We have a new Board of Trustees chair, Hal Mullis. And we have a new Honors College dean, Charles Adams. He will be here next week. We're going to be welcoming him with open arms. He's from the University of Arkansas. I met with University Communications and Marketing yesterday, and we're discussing new ideas for our football games. Perhaps maybe look at a post-game concert show for the students after the football game and bring in some talent for that. I met with Manny Lopez from Administrative Services, and he wanted me to update you guys that on the ALN, so where the old administration building is, near the library, there's going to be some construction over the summer. They're going to be fixing the traffic pattern, so that way you don't have students walking from all over the place. It's going to be a circular pattern, so be on the lookout for that. And I'm also going to be talking with him to look at more student spaces for students, so that's going to be good. I believe that's it.
Any questions for President Coco? Thank you. Oh, just kidding. Senator Yulov.
Mr. Senate President Rodriguez said that you got elected General Chair of the SA.
I did.
That is.
So the Florida Student Association, for those who don't know, is an association that was founded in 1976, and it brought together the state universities across Florida to come together as a university system to advocate on behalf of student needs in Tallahassee. And so I was unanimously selected to be the #2 person for the FSA to represent USF. The chair is from FSU, his name is Stefano. So some of the stuff that we're going to be tackling is textbook affordability. Textbook sales are extremely expensive. And we're going to be working on hopefully creating a sales tax, eliminating the sales tax on textbooks. We're one of the few states in the union that has a sales tax on textbooks. So we want to try to advocate to our legislature to eliminate that sales tax so we can save the extra $20. That's one issue, and if any other issues you guys want to run by me, just let me know, and I'll talk with him about it. And we'll have an agenda that we advocate for. Does that answer your question?
Any more questions for President Coco? Thank you. Moving on, Judicial Branch report. Mr. Harmon.
Good evening, Senate. I have a short report for you all today. Like Mr. Johnson said, we had a budget transfer go through appropriations and audits yesterday. That's so we can stock up on more promotional items, informational items, just upgrades for the office. Juice-N-X is meeting next Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Please feel free to attend. I haven't seen the agenda yet, but I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about. Associate Justice applications open up this Friday, so if you want to jump over to a new branch with good job security, feel free to apply. The final date for our Judicial Summit will be June 27th. It's the last Friday of this month, and it's going to be held in Sarasota, Manatee. I was hoping to take 3 to 5 people from each branch with me to go do that. If you can't make it to that one, don't feel bad. We'll have another one in July, probably in Tampa, that everyone can go to. And there'll be free food there. This Friday, I'm meeting with the chair of the Ethics and Integrity Committee with President Coco just to discuss new initiatives to promote ethics and integrity, our new honor code, things like that. I met with the director and the business director of Parking and Transportation Services this morning to talk about what the training for the new justices is going to look like for this year, and what the training for the Attorney General and Solicitor General will look like for this new term. And we kind of revised some of our policies and stuff like that too. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Moving down the agenda, we have open forum. Is there anything anyone would like to say? Mr. Makowski? Matt.
Is it okay to come out?
Yeah, how do you say it again?
Mahalski?
Mahalski, excuse me. Mr. Mahalski.
Sorry if this takes a few minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, thank you very much for your time. My name is Joseph Mahalski. I'm currently the Director of Public Relations and Communications for the 55th term transition team. Tonight we'll begin the process of confirming appointees for the positions of the executive branch. As a member of SG from the Warren P. Sandoval administration and someone who is regularly in the office, I feel it is my duty to make known any concerns I may have with the decision or process that occurs in student government. Tonight, Mr. Berkowitz will be presented later in the meeting as the appointee for Chief of Staff. Based on my experiences in the executive branch, both in the 51st and 54th administrations, I believe that this is the single most important appointment of the term. I was a member of the Cocoa White campaign last February. I did some of the graphic design and web design work for the campaign, knowing very well that the greatest weakness of that ticket was Mr. Coco's tendency to sometimes make wild decisions without fully thinking through a situation. Mr. White does a good job of balancing out Mr. Coco's personality, but the Chief of Staff has authority over much of the executive branch. Oftentimes, this person sits on most or all of the executive hiring committees. Ideally, this person needs to be able to balance out the personalities of the president and vice president while also being able to ensure that the branch is making the right decisions and moving forward in the best possible directions. Sometimes this means telling the president no. My first concern arose when I heard that Mr. Coco wanted Mr. Berkowitz for Chief of Staff, even before the application was up on the USF employment website. I believe in fair processes. In the case of hiring, I would prefer that each candidate be considered with the same weight according to the qualifications and capacities that the president would like to see. The fact that rumors were floating around the office that Mr. Berkowitz was going to get the position before being interviewed or appointed leads me to believe that this was an unfair process. No other rumors existed about the Chief of Staff. Mr. Berkowitz was the only name mentioned. I also used to be the acting CFO for the transition team because the CFO from the previous term declined the opportunity to be on the transition. For full disclosure, around the same time I was applying for CFO, also being told by others in the office that Mr. Coco wanted Mr. Forbes for this position. I knew my chances were slim, but I applied anyway, and I was interviewed. No other rumors existed about the CFO. Mr. Forbes' name was the only one mentioned. Sure enough, Mr. Forbes was appointed. Just in general, of the 4 appointees being presented tonight, just to be perfectly honest, Mr. Johnson's name is actually the only name I did not hear before the application, or before the interviews started for each respective position. From the day after I was told that I didn't get the position by Mr. Coco, I noticed a considerable difference in how I was treated by Mr. Berkowitz and Ms. Maggie Hall, who is the Assistant Director of Public Relations and Communications and is also on the transition team. For reasons that are still beyond me, Mr. Berkowitz has delegated all of the communications tasks to Ms. Hall. Remember, I'm the director for the 54th term, and Ms. Hall is the assistant director. We are a team. Also here with me are the minutes from the first transition meeting, which took place on May 5th. In the minutes, it was discussed and agreed upon that Maggie and I would collectively cover communications and programming tasks until the replacements for those positions were appointed, which included overseeing the SG website, social media, orientation supplies, orientation tabling, and the summer bee event with Campus Rec. For reasons still unknown to me, Mr. Berkowitz has tried to exclude me from most or all of communications' responsibilities and transitioning Mr. Forbes into the CFO position. With me as well is an email thread between Mr. Berkowitz and myself in which I tried to remind Mr. Berkowitz that I'm still responsible for communications-related tasks along with Ms. Hall, and that both of us should know what's going on, not just Ms. Hall. Quoting Mr. Berkowitz from his email, I appreciate your concern, however, I must delegate tasks as I see fit. If I wanted you to work on the job posts for the website, I would have informed you. End quote. Unfortunately, I see this as an inability to accept that I am currently the Director of Public Relations and Communications for the transition team. If the website were to break or orientation supplies were to go missing, I would be chiefly responsible. And next in the chain of responsibility would be Ms. Hall. That's just how it works. Another concern. Just yesterday, around mid-afternoon, I believe I was flattening boxes or organizing something in the executive wing. Mr. Berkowitz was reviewing applications for an SG job posting, which position I'm not exactly sure. One thing he said while looking at the screen was, he's in engineering, why would he apply for this position? End quote. As an engineering student myself, I found this mildly unsettling. I would want my application and resume to be thoroughly reviewed had I applied for that position and potentially been dismissed because I was an engineering student without looking at my skills or experience as an RA in housing, a web designer for housing, or a former member of the executive branch. I would be disappointed. And I think that a comment like this should not be considered, especially if Mr. Berkowitz might be determining or influencing who is interviewed for each position, or if he might sit on most of the executive hiring committees. If I may provide an analogy, I currently sit on the search committee for the College of Engineering Dean. I was recommended by then President Will Warnke and officially appointed as the only student member of this committee by Provost Wilcox. Over the past year, with the assistance of an executive search firm, we reviewed 86 applications, performed 10 airport interviews, each one was 75 minutes, and facilitated 4 on-campus visits, each one being 2 days. At the end of the process, we submitted a ranked list of 3 candidates to the provost who would decide amongst them. As of last month, the provost announced that he had extended a job offer to none of the 3 candidates, stating that he wanted to see candidates with higher qualifications and one who would be a better fit for the college. Over the next year, I'll myself, along with the committee, will be replaying the application process for that position. This is an example of where a very good candidate isn't necessarily the best fit for a position. I believe Mr. Berkowitz is an asset to student government and has the capacity to serve some other roles in the executive branch structure very well. Unfortunately, from what I've experienced so far, I strongly believe that the chief of staff position is not a good fit for him. Are there any questions, or would anyone like to see the documents in detail?
Senator Crum.
Yes. Definitely.
Senator.
These were not public record requested. This is my email, and then these are available publicly on the SG website as of today.
Senator Aziz.
My question is this like a personal situation you have
I-
with your
I-
employer, or
I believe that the process in general may not be handled completely fairly. I
I just
One-
want to figure out if like if it's a you versus them thing, or
certainly
something that you should handle with like Esgato or the grievance process
definitely.
in terms of
Moving
conflict
forward.
resolution.
Moving forward with this, I don't see it as this as being a single conflict. I could go into details about Mr. Forbes and my opinion about that. I feel that it's a little bit of a conflict because I did apply for that position. I don't feel suited to go into detail about each of the other positions. My only concern is why I heard of the 4 candidates being presented tonight. I heard 3 of their names before they were even interviewed. And sure enough, those three names were the only names I heard for each of those 3 positions. And sure enough, those are the ones who were appointed. And I think it's a disadvantage to some of the appointees actually, because some of them may be the best fit for the position, but it's casting a little doubt in my eyes that this is a valid process if I'm hearing these names ahead of time.
I will only take the last 3 questions, the last 3 hands I see up. So Senator Hassan.
Do you, Senator, do you by any proof can say that whoever got appointed was not fit or the best candidate according to your proof?
I can't because I don't have access to all the job applications. Unfortunately, I actually don't know who reviews all the job applications and decides who's interviewed.
Senator Trump and then Senator.
So these allegations that you're saying are they against Coco, or are you saying them against the candidates, the appointees themselves?
I think it is, right now, it's mostly against kind of the office culture that is going on right now, where these rumors are floating around about each specific position and one name attached to each position. This usually happens around the time that the application is open, but before the application closes and before the interviews start.
And go ahead.
So you're saying it's against everyone in the office, or the choices that are being made for the appointees?
I would question whether or not the appointees are actually the most qualified because from what I've experienced, I don't have any certainty that these are actually the most qualified candidates.
Okay, so you're not having these allegations against the appointee themselves, but the choice that was made to appoint them.
I guess in that regard, you could say both. I do believe that the process in general, there are things that need to be fixed with that. Specifically with Mr. Berkowitz, it is more of a personnel issue. I do believe that there are, based on what I have experienced, both before he was appointed and after he was appointed, because before he was appointed, he was also a member of the transition team. Based on what I've seen and the way I've seen him handle his leadership, because once he's appointed, he pretty much acts as a chief of staff and acts as my supervisor. And so based on what I've seen, I think that there are indicators that he may not be the most qualified for this position.
Last question. Senator Johnson.
My only real question is, you definitely seem pretty like you have a personal stake in this application, and it doesn't seem as objective as I think many of us would like to hear.
Okay.
But I would like to hear flatly, simply, what is your 2-sentence summary of what this issue with the culture of the office is, so we can know about it going forward with the confirmations.
I think that each application and each applicant pool should be handled on its own, and the applicant pool should be considered on its own to determine which candidates are the most qualified, which candidates should be interviewed. Even going through the CFO interview process, I was asked by Mr. Coco before I was interviewed for CFO if I would be applying for any other position. I don't think that question should affect anything. I think I should be considered if I'm applying for one position, I think I should be considered for that position, not be.
And you believe that the culture of the office is not conducive to that issue that you're
Correct. And then I guess also to put it out on the record, pretty much I decided when I was informed that I did not get the position, I told them that I would not be applying for any other positions in the executive branch this term, and I still won't be, because it's just something I want to get away from. So I'm not in this to see a position. I am in this to make sure that student government is moving in the best possible direction, and that the most qualified people are indeed the ones being appointed.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Anything else for open forum? Thank you, Mr. Officer. Anything else for open forum? Mr. Hellman.
I have free stress gavels in the office. If any of you want them, everyone seems to like them. I'd be more than happy to give you all free stress gavels.
Okay. I will be moving on with the agenda now into general business. The first thing on the agenda, quiet please. The first thing on the agenda for general business is a joint resolution on first reading, JBR 55001. So if I could please have.
I'll start it over. All right, so Mr. Johnson was kind enough to write a resolution for the Senate to hear today. So it is JBR 55-003 in memory of Mary Lou Harkins. Can we get a motion to read?
Senator Yoav.
Motion to enter reading of JBR 55-003 in memory of Mary Lou Harkins.
Mr. Johnson will be reading it.
Any objections? Mr. Johnson.
Sure. In memory of Mary Lou Harkins, a joint resolution to honor the passing of our fellow bull, Mary Lou Harkins. Be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government Assembly. Whereas, this assembly, with unfeigned sorrow, has heard the passing of Mary Lou Harkins. Whereas, Ms. Harkins served honorably for 33 years in the University of South Florida Library, and in addition to her work on campus, also lobbied for only the best resources available from the state of Florida. Whereas, Ms. Harkins was a national leader in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. Whereas, as a tribute of respect to the memory of Mary, the Student Senate assembled will have a moment of silence on June 24th, 2014. Whereas, a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the family of Mary, to the University of South Florida Tampa campus, and the University of South Florida Library. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government Assembly that on behalf of the student body, this body offers our best wishes and sincerest condolences to the friends and family of Miss Mary Lou Harkins.
Any motions? Senator Yoav.
Motion to pass the acclamation.
Any objections to passing JBR 55-003 by acclamation? The resolution passes.
Today we have joining us the stepdaughters of Miss Mary Lou Harkins. So it's great to have you guys here. If you guys could just briefly introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about Mary from your eyes, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, thank you for making this resolution to honor her. I'm Judy Grillo, and I'm Christine Somerville. And I'd like to say that Mary Lou was hired in 1958, 2 years before the university started. She had the vision to understand what this university was to become. They talked about the university as being a research-based university. And there was no library. And back in those days, you couldn't get on the computer. You had to have books and you had to have periodicals. And she had a job of what books do we get? What periodicals do we subscribe to? She had to have a vision of what all the different parts of the university needed. And she worked very hard on these things and was very successful. And she never quit with just working in the library. And by the way, the library started in a little tiny building, which is now part of your school campus police force. And it used to be right about here where we would come and use the few books that we had. And when you were issued a research project, you didn't have much to draw from, but it was the best that we could do at the time. And she just, her whole heart was devoted to this university and the students here.
Yeah, I would just like to add that Judy speaks from experience because she was part of the charter faculty, the charter student body of the university in 1960. So between Mary Lou and my father, Donald Harkness, our father, who was also part of the charter faculty, they were associated with the university until Mary Lou retired in '91. But typical of Mary Lou being an amazing person and absolutely reaching out into all parts of university life, she was incredibly humble. Many of her accomplishments are only now being known to us as we see people memorialize her. So in 1988, after serving for 30 years as the director, from no books to a world that's driven, of course, by computers, she actually voluntarily stepped down from the directorship and continued to work for the library for another 3 years. She said it's time for the next generation to take over leadership. And so that, to all of you who are in wonderful leadership capacities today, that's a huge asset to have that ability to be humble, step down, and work then as a servant, not as a leader. So I appreciate very much this wonderful honor. It means a tremendous amount to us. Thank you all.
Come up front, please. Get a photo up front.
Hold our bags.
And jump in.
Court.
Better, because otherwise you're going
Bulls.
I can't do it. I did it quick. I think I was like a rocker instead of.
All right. Thank you so much, Judith and Christine.
Thank you
I
so
wish you
much
well.
for having us. This was a great honor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I wish you
And I'd
well.
just like to say, I typed the first Constitution, and seeing how you operate today and knowing how we operated in the beginning, you are just fabulous. What a mature operation you have compared to what we started.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Miss Judy. All right.
Okay, moving down the agenda, we will now be entering reading for JBR 55-002. Do I see any motion? Senator Johnson?
I move to enter first reading for JBR 55-002.
Any objections?
So just to recap, last time we did a moment of silence. So Mr. Johnson was kind enough again to draft a resolution. It's in memory of the victims of the University of California, Santa Barbara. So, here you go.
A joint resolution to honor the passing of Christopher Michaels Martinez, Catherine Brianne Cooper, Victrana Weiss, Weehan Wang, George Chen, and all others that were harmed in the events that occurred on May 23rd, 2014 at the University of California at Santa Barbara. Be it resolved, the University of South Florida Student Government Assembly. Whereas this assembly, with unfeigned sorrow, has heard the passing of 6 students at the University of California at Santa Barbara. Whereas this assembly, with further unfeigned sorrow, has also heard several students were victims of brutality. Whereas the University of South Florida Student Government wishes to send its dearest condolences to the families of the students lost by the tragedies that occurred. Whereas, as a tribute of respect to the memory of the students lost at the University of California at Santa Barbara, the Student Senate assembled will have a moment of silence on June 24th, 2014. Whereas a copy of this resolution shall be sent to each family of the students lost to the University of South Florida's Hampton campus and the University of California at Santa Barbara. Therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the University of South Florida Student Government assembled that on behalf of the student body, this body offers our best wishes and sincerest condolences to the friends and family of the students lost.
Do I see any motions? Senator Gilloff.
Motion to pass by acclamation.
Any objections? Seeing none, this resolution passes by acclamation. Do I see any motions? Maybe we want to wait. Okay. Okay, moving on with the agenda, we will start confirmations. The first confirmation we'll have is for Chief Financial Officer Jeremiah Forbes. Where's his?
I could, before I start, I just want to address some of the concerns Mr. Mikowski had. So I'll go ahead and start with our advisor from a more non-objective point of view, and then we'll go from there.
It's always exciting when I'm at Senate. We will go to the podium again.
Always.
No, I have not. I certainly appreciate any opinions that are shared before me because that's what you guys are here to do and hear students' concerns. So definitely, certainly take that into consideration. Myself or Gary, though, have sat in all of the hiring procedures for all of the positions that you'll be running tonight, and so there aren't any concerns that we have about fairness. As to the allegation that people's names were passed around or decided beforehand, I've not experienced that. Most of the people who are selecting who's being interviewed sit right outside of my office, and I have like mom hearing for days. So, I've not been privy to any of that. I think it's been a very fair procedure. We've interviewed actually more non-student government people than we have in the past. So I feel confident that we're really getting a diverse array of students coming before us through the interview process. So if you have questions about that, or you want to talk to me about it one-on-one, or if you have concerns, not just if you have concerns about what the executive branch is doing and you want to follow up in a different way too, I'm certainly happy to help you through that process as well. Certainly ask them any hard questions you have, but from my observation, it really has been a fair process, and I feel proud about what they've been leading through this hiring process.
Angie, you served on some of those hiring committees. Do you mind saying your 2 cents? You will pass? Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So, based on what J-Mo has said, the process has been fair. We've interviewed over 20 people for each position, and we picked the ones that we felt were the most qualified for those positions. And that's why they're standing here before you today. Now, some people obviously weren't chosen for this position, so I can understand why there may be some sour feelings. But nevertheless, I assure you that throughout this entire process, with Andy serving on the hiring committee and with this Gatto being there, this process has been nothing but fair. Or else we wouldn't have the best and brightest here to present to you. So, if you guys have any individual concerns that you want to talk to me about, I'm happy to meet with any one of you on a one-on-one basis or on a group basis or whatever. So, send me an email. Let's sit down. Let's figure this out, and let's address these concerns. Mr. Berkowitz, you want to say something?
So, I will say this, that if you have concerns with the process, don't hold it against him, hold it against me. When I go up,
hold it against me. The buck stops with me. It's not your fault.
But no. I just want to stress is that these are the most qualified candidates, and I don't want Mr. Forbes to suffer because of some allegations.
Thank you. All right.
Well, go ahead. Take it. Oh, Senator Trump.
I also just want to remind all of you that all of this is for a place to hear my today.
Thank you. All right, so this is Mr. Forbes. He is.
How
many people were interviewed for the position? And how many people applied?
23 CFO.
Yeah.
39, excuse me.
Applied, 5 were interviewed.
Exactly.
Oh, Senator Yuval.
Mr. Gupta. Are you gonna provide us the, I guess, the job description that we've gotten in the past?
It was sent to everyone in the email that I sent out on Friday.
Cool.
All right, Jeremiah, take it away. You have 5 minutes.
Alright, cool. Everyone doesn't know who I am Jeremiah Forbes, as you can see on the screen. Alright, a little bit about me. I'm a senior here at USF. I'm expecting to graduate next spring. I'm an accounting major. I have my minor is entrepreneurship. Sorry about that. Pretty much my idea into entrepreneurship is that one day I see myself owning my own business. In fact, I'm involved in accounting. I would like to see myself have a CPA firm. I have other ideas of maybe having a restaurant, other ideas of having a non-for-profit. One of my biggest things that I would like to do, for me, I'm involved in music. I've been involved in president of marching band the past 4 years at this campus. And I would like to, because my family's from Turks and Caicos Island, so a big thing back there is that my dad grew up. He told me many times that there wasn't much instruments for them to play. So if I can go back and start a non-for-profit where we can have kids learn how to play music growing up, that would be something great for me since I've been involved in music since I was 7. Alright, but as of now, CPA is my thing, my goal as of right now. I'm on track to get my CPA license. I'm a 5th year here, and CPA track you need 150 credits to be able to get your license. So I'm a 5th year senior. Couple words to describe myself. I have positive, dedicated, sense of humor, and self-aware. Positive is my number one thing I think I can bring, is because I think a lot of times tension is up in the air. You need somebody that can, make things positive. It's as simple to me. I can be walking to class, and I happen to see a squirrel digging for an acorn, and that makes me happy because it put things into perspective. Who knows how long that squirrel has been digging for that acorn? I can just get up and walk to the fridge and get a drink or a bite to eat that fast. So little things like that always put things into perspective, and I always feel that there's somebody around the world probably have worse than I do, so I should be smiling. Dedicated because whatever I get my hands on, I really try to do my best and do everything I can. Sense of humor, I think everyone should have a sense of humor, honestly, because so much, it can be serious, so it's good to have a sense of humor. And I'm a very self-aware person. I think being self-aware is the beginning of development. Someone can say, hey, Jeremiah, I think you need to improve in this area. But if you don't think that, you may not actually hear that. I'm a very self-aware person where I like to always evaluate myself and see what I can personally grow. All right, why CFO? Well, I was interested since fall 2012 because I interviewed for the deputy CFO position at the time, and from my understanding, I think the reason why I didn't get it is because I didn't know SG. I wasn't involved in SG before that time, so I'm sure that's the reason why I didn't get it. So what I did was join the ANS business office, which is still involved in SG. So I knew through that I would be able to get the knowledge I need for SG. And it was an accounting office, so it was great for my accounting background and my major. Through there, I saw an opportunity to want to be CFO because I've been around it since fall 2012. I see things when it comes to behind the scenes of how to improve the position and how to improve the process on the front line. So that's where it really initially developed for me about wanting to become CFO. And plus, the time was right. Some of my experience, of course, like I just mentioned, was ANS business office. I've been there since 2012. A lot of my job description there, you do so many things. There's not so many students involved, so students have a lot of responsibility when it comes to the office. This is one of the number one office where a lot of the work is done by students. So I can do things like filling golf carts, I can be signing people in, equipment, I can be going down to computer services and auditing all the computers they have, the TV screens that's in storage, the little things that a lot of people may not get a chance to get involved in. So that was some of my procedures, but number one, majority of my things was requisitions, which majority of the time that's what the branches and all that. Okay, all the agencies will be doing. So that's my front line. Also, I was involved in the treasurer, marching band. I handle all the finances. To short that up, since I got 1 minute. But everything, I had a record on everybody in the marching band, how much they paid, what they need to pay, everything. All right.
Areas of focus. I went down to work on his efficiency. We've been behind the scenes. You see a lot of back and forth of what you need, what you don't need. I really want to work on that so that we can get a pretty smooth transition as we're going, so that we can keep it efficient. I don't have a purchasing worksheet, so the agencies and everyone that's involved in purchasing will kind of know what we need when it comes to bringing it up to me. Another big thing that I've been seeing lacking a lot is the audio studentizations. For me, I want to push that, not more to punish, but like I mentioned, to educate. I think a lot of students just don't understand about the SG statutes because they don't want to read. And then promotion of SG is a big thing. I can go more into that if you ask me questions.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Do I see any motions? Senator Yoa?
Motion to enter 10-minute question and answer period for our 1 minute speaking time.
Any objections? We'll now enter a 10-minute question and answer period for Mr. Forbes with 1 minute speaking times. I don't believe you do. Pro Tempore Aziz.
So you were appointed on which day? May, a couple weeks ago, I guess. So since appointed, what have been your things that you've been doing?
Okay. For me, my first day on the clock was just this past Wednesday. The biggest thing was that I was working in the Spins office still once I got appointed, and for me, I wanted to keep my hands off of anything student government related because it'd be a conflict of interest. So I can mention everything that I started since last Wednesday because that's when I necessarily started clocking in. A lot of things I worked on was the interim budget. That was a big thing, so that was the most urgent coming up. I was working on that. Also, promotion items coming up that I was working on. A lot of things that we've been dealing with is purchasing because the last day to put in purchase for this fiscal year is tomorrow. So that's been a majority of my focus has been purchasing and getting up to speed of what else this job needs to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Forbes. Before I take any questions, I'm going to give you 1 tap for 30 seconds,
Okay.
2 taps at 15, and then I'll grab you up into the table.
Okay.
Thank you. Senator Trump.
One of your responsibilities is to audit the hours worked and the work output. How do you plan on doing that?
Okay. When it comes to my experience is based on the office, a lot of my stuff. So when it comes to saying no and looking into that, I'm very keen on that. Anyone in the office that knows me will tell you Jeremiah is not afraid to say no. Jeremiah is not to go check something. One of the things I like to follow, for me, I'm going to audit perspective career-wise, is that you trust but you verify. And there's a lot of people that's involved in office. Someone said, I've been there 10 hours. I mean, there's more people here that that I can go to and say, okay, did you actually see them here? Or you see them working? So I really feel that's a lot of way of trusting the next person that they'll give an objective opinion if I really need to go that route.
Senator Johnson.
Excellent presentation, by the way. Just to humor the allegations that Joseph and I think some of the senators are concerned about now, how well did you know anyone on the executive branch before and during the interviewing process? Personally, not physically.
Okay.
Senator Pro Tempore.
Interjection. So the questions you ask the candidate have to be relevant to the job position. So if you can rephrase like another question, choose another question.
Absolutely.
Senator Johnson.
I apologize. I'm personally concerned that allegations about dishonesty through the interviewing process lessen the ability for you to do a good job because a part of a democratic process means that there's a check and balance among people both within branches and between branches. So my concern is that if there was an issue of I don't know, comfort, I guess the right word is, between you and the interviewers, I would be afraid that would lessen your effectiveness as a CFO. I would like you to address those concerns as well. Is that okay?
Can you repeat that one more time? Make sure I really understand what you're saying.
Bottom line is,
Also, I can summarize. It's pretty much an ethics question.
Okay.
Like if someone puts something on unethical, what would you do in that situation?
Okay. I'll just talk. Based on the allegations, my interest for position have developed from being within the ANS business. That's the other stuff that's involved. My thing is I've talked quite a bit about it, as in like learning more. Because I talked to many people that's involved in SG. I talked to David Hausman, talked to Masha that's in the office, talked to many people that I've had interest in positions. So that could have been
another thing that had my name out there for the position. When it comes to being ethical, I mean, I haven't, as far as I know, all I did was talk about the position, interview for the position, I got appointed. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much.
Senator Shipley.
To look at the resume a little bit, what are your obligations for the rest of your time here at school? And obviously, besides a student, and from what I understand, will you be leaving the ANS business office once, if you are confirmed in this position?
Yes. That's the biggest thing. I've left in this business office already once HR stuff got situated. Then that's why I started this past Wednesday. That was the next slide with some of my time commitments. I have 2 online classes. And then I have 2 classes on Monday night and Tuesday night. So I'm pretty open. Come Out Campus Involvement is my fraternity now, which is a county association, and I like to have fun in the mirrors. So if you want to make a team, there should be actually a team by the way.
Senator Yoloa.
I have a question and possibly a follow-up. How well do you know Title VIII?
Yes, actually, everything we do in the office is based off Title VIII. Like I mentioned, my number one practice in the office was to approve requests to go to the next level. And how we approve requests is based on Title VIII. Stuff like, is the food over $7 per student? Is shirts, are they buying shirts $7 per student? For trophies, are they going over $150 for the semester? Are they having more than one banquet for the year? Little things like that. We have quick, simplified versions of Title VIII, but that's where a lot of my experience has come from working in the office.
Senator Yoloa.
Based on the Title VIII and working in a business office, do you have any change that you'd like to see the Title VIII and how we do I guess quickly?
Okay. I mean, I'm not trying to say when it comes to it, but the biggest thing I like to see when it comes to that is maybe a simplified version for the most part, because a lot of people don't want to read it. And like even student organizations that will come in, finance officers, in the office, we'll give them a package. A lot of information in there is based on Title VIII, and they don't read it. So maybe we can make something like I mentioned purchasing cheat sheet, something like that for Title VIII. One thing I do address is when it comes to not necessarily not Title VIII, but when it comes to auditing of organizations, if we can clarify exactly how that process should go, like a step by step, how we're going to go with procedure instead of saying, we'll audit it. What does that mean if the next person comes along? So I think some clarity there would be a big thing.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
So could you give us any, well, first of all, the executive branch, you have a lot of budgets to deal with, a lot of deadlines that are, sometimes people ask you like the day before to purchase something. How do you keep up with multiple tasks, multiple assignments and tasks that have a tight deadline? Okay. Within NS Business Office, we, like I mentioned, a lot of work is done by the students. So my task can vary. Like, if you had to tell me what was my role in office, I mean, besides the main 3, I can give you so many more because we're always getting tasked all the time what we need to do. In office, we keep track of all the ANS funding to organizations. I think I have no idea of following that same format that we use in the office and bringing it for the 20 or so departments that we have in FG.
Any more questions for Mr. Forbes? Senator Yoloa.
If there are no more questions, I'd like to end question and answer and discussion.
Any objections to ending question and answer moving into discussion? Can you give a form for the discussion, please?
I guess 10-minute moderated caucus, 1 minute speaking time.
Any objections to 10 minutes moderated caucus, 1 minute speaking time? Mr. Forbes, if I could please ask you to exit the room.
All right. Thank you, guys. No polls.
Okay, since the motion was made from Senator Yoloa, you'll have the floor first.
Well, from listening to Stacy, seems to know. He seems like he really knows what he's talking about. I went to the ASBO office with Judge Fund last year, and especially as a chair this year. And the people in that office really know what they're talking about. They go through a little bit more deeply than we do, even as senators or chairmen into the Title VIII and organizations like that. So I think coming from a position like that, and one of his positions, so probably watching Title VIII and opposition a little bit more, I feel like he's regularly qualified. He doesn't have a busy schedule, and he seems to really have enthusiasm for the shot.
Okay. Anyone else? First and foremost.
So I never really knew who Jeremiah was. I always see him in the business office, but I never knew his name. It'd always be helpful to like check out like golf carts and check out equipment. He was keen on like following the rules, make sure like show your ID and like check all the stuff. In terms of like work, like following the rules based on the experience like from the business office that I've seen him, seems to be a good worker. And for the short time he's been CFO, he's had a lot of like requests to purchase things, and he's been able to give feedback for like stuff that they're missing or things we need to do. So in terms of doing the job, seems to be doing it.
Anyone else? Do I see any motions? Senator Johnson.
I move to go into voting procedures concerning the appointment of the chief financial officer.
Any objections to going into voting procedure for the CFO position? Seeing none, we'll now enter voting procedure. Hopefully this works. Okay, please click 1 if you vote yes on the confirmation of Jeremiah Ford. Click 2 if you vote no, and click 3 to abstain. Is that everyone? Yep. They voted 23 to 0 to 1. Jeremiah Ford is confirmed as our CFO. Yeah, 11.
Jeremiah?
Congratulations. First, I gotta get this correctly. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida,
As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida,
I, Jeremiah Ford,
I, Jeremiah Ford,
do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Chief Financial Officer,
do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Chief Financial Officer,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, moving on. We have the confirmation of the Chief of Staff, Gregory Berkowitz.
Right. Grant Berkowitz pretty much needs no introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions regarding the position? How many people applied?
38.
38 people applied. 5 were interviewed.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Greg Berkowitz, and I'm the appointed Chief of Staff. Thank you all for having me tonight, and I'll try to keep it quick for you all. About me, I graduated from USF May 2013 with a BA in International Studies with a minor in Leadership. I'm also a graduate student in Public Administration. I'm taking 6 credits this summer, 12 in fall, 3 this summer online, and 3 in fall online. And most classes are at night since it's graduate school. Leadership experience, so
I've been sitting over for a while now. This is my 4th year. Last year, I studied University Advancement for the Warmke administration. Year before that was advisor on student life for the Goff administration. 2 great presidents, 2 different styles. Something I bring to the table is I've been here a while, and I've seen things done very well, and I've seen things done not as well. So I think I can definitely make some improvements. Other involvement is I was president of Alpha Epsilon Pi in 2013, and the executive vice president of Interfraternity Council Fall 2012, where I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Andy Rodriguez here. 16 University Advanced last year. I did a lot with university-wide committees. I actually went to the Committee on University, Community and Governmental Affairs to talk about university-wide committees and explain to them what each one does, and also the Marshall Student Center Advisory Board, and how kind of last year took some good steps in years past. Because before I kind of came in, there was a lot of complaints that we weren't involved in university-wide committees. Students didn't go, and there are all these questions about them. But I think we really last year did a really great job recruiting students for these committees, keeping them involved, educating them, and then just keep the connection there. We also met each committee chair, which is something different, and so they actually know who student government is now. Then I also was one of the founders of the Marshall Student Advisory Board. I had to help write the legislative here. Mr. Z's helped me as well. We got it passed through Senate. It's an advisory board that kind of helped Sujit kind of decide what kind of change we need to Marshall Student Center. You really just wanted the voice of the students to be heard. Then the student memorial ceremony. Every year, unfortunately, we do have students who pass away, and we do put on a nice ceremony for them and their family, or for the families to remember them by. I was charged with planning it, and it's something very outside my comfort zone, because I don't really like planning events in the first place. On top of that, it's just a very kind of sad thing. So I get all the updates when students pass away, including for last year in that horrific accident. Then the student memorial garden, which is that student memorial that space on campus that's being changed. And I was a big part of that community trying to make it happen with Senator Brown and some judicial people. Really, it was really great because it was like all 3 branches came together and kind of made something great for this campus. And now I just can't wait till it's built in the fall. Chief of Staff, so I've done some things already, at my appointed time. One is we've changed the hiring process. I made a hiring schedule for each position to keep us on track. And the plan is really to have all the executive branch positions and the core and some of the agency stuff hired by end of July. And really comes down to 100% confirmation, making sure the guys that we have are quality candidates for y'all. So I'm really working hard on that. Marketing communication requests. In the past, how marketing communication works, people fill out a request, do a paper form, and turn it in. I just want to make it better. I want to do a Google Doc, make it more efficient. We also can track it. So when Senate has a big event coming up, when they ask us, we know it's in the draft phase right now, and it'll be done within a week or whatever, just to kind of increase accountability. And the last thing is, tweaking cabinet meetings. Before we used to have every member of cabinet, in the meeting once a month. I just feel like that's a lot of people trying to schedule. I think we only need department heads and the senior staff, and they can kind of talk to the departments. And so we want those twice a month. And then during the off weeks, I want to meet each individual staff member, just kind of checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, what they're working on. And also, it's like not just being a chief of staff, but a chief for staff. I really advocate for them. If there are issues that come up. That's pretty. Sorry, I didn't mean to exit out, but that was pretty much the presentation. I want to speak to a little bit about tonight. Oh, never a minute. All right, great. There's 2 other times in my life where my integrity has been questioned. When I actually started as a special education major. Actually, when I got my first job as advisor of student life. So it's funny, I would never start a major, see if they're qualified for a job. Because special education advisor student life is kind of a stretch. But I started special education. I was in my final internship. I was with a teacher I was in an emotional behavior disorder class. Students with, who couldn't quite keep their behavior the same. They've been in juvenile detention centers. And the teacher called them stupid during class or would put them down all the time. So I reported to the university, and they really couldn't do anything about it because how internships work. It's like she works for the county and doesn't work for the university. So I actually withdrew myself from the program because something could be done. I switched to international studies to really pursue a career in government because I want to change education policy, either the national or worldwide. But so I stood up, that's one thing I stood up for myself, even though I was questioned by some people in the university about my actions. And the second time was when I was president. How much time was that? 5 seconds. All right, then maybe someone asked me a question on this here.
Do I see any motions? Senator Johnson.
Move to enter a 10-minute moderated caucus for question and answer.
Any objections?
Oh, sorry.
Say moderator on the moderator.
Moderator with 1 minute speaking.
1 minute speaking time. Any objections to a 10-minute question and answer period with 1 minute speaking time for the candidate? Okay, since you made the motion, you have the first opportunity to speak, Senator Johnson.
Please enlighten us about the second.
Absolutely. So last year, thank you. Seems so long ago, but last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, I was president of Alpha Epsilon Pi, and we went to a sub-regional convention. Hazing took place between another university hazed our new guys in our own chapter. So what I did was, now that I report to my national organization, I reported to our university here at USF. My national office is not like that very much. They want to do it. They wanted to sweep under the rug. They want to do it behind the scenes, so the university wouldn't get involved. I felt like that was not the right way to do it. I felt like we should be transparent. The fact is, our USF students were affected by it, so the university had the right to know. So my nationals wasn't happy with me, so they called me, they blackmailed me, they threatened me, and then they finally removed me as president in the middle of the semester for reporting hazing. And I didn't stand away. I'm gonna do what's right, and I don't. So don't question my integrity, I guess, is kind of the motto I want to stick tonight.
Any more questions? Senator Trone.
How would you handle an unethical, politically motivated delegate task?
Could you give me an example, or could you give me an example or a scenario? Because I think I might be better to answer the question that way. Or,
I'm thinking.
okay, no, it's fine.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not just silent. I'm thinking.
Okay, we'll get back to you, Ms. Trump. President Porzies.
So I'll ask for the same question with an example.
Thank you.
Let's say like President Cook wanted you to like buy horses for all of the executive cabinet. You know that's unethical and also not fiscally responsible.
No.
How would you handle that? An unethical situation like that?
And at the end of the day, the reason, so I really owe a lot to USF, I owe a lot to student government. Everything I do, is for the students. I'm not the student body president. When I got here as a freshman, I had like social anxiety issues. I had a lack of self-confidence. It wasn't really until I got involved in Alpha Epsilon student government that I really came into my own and actually can speak in front of you all without like trembling in fear. I'm a little shaky now. So I don't want to. No. So I'm not gonna. I tell them no. It's as simple as that. You stick to your guns. So
Senator Ulloa.
As someone who's been in student government for, I think it's like 3 years now, what type of updates or new things do you want to bring to the chief of staff position?
Oh, absolutely. So some things are having to, some of the day-to-day things like marketing requests, communication requests, the hiring process. Something, I've really done during this hiring is, email the people who don't get the interview, but also the personal phone calls to the ones who do get the interview but don't get the job. Which you think it's easy, it's not. Telling someone that who's also probably qualified for the position, but then the best one that they didn't get the job, it stinks. It doesn't feel good. So that's one thing I do want to make a personal touch. I want to be professional. We shouldn't leave these kids hanging on for months and months until they find someone else to do it. And second thing is I want to do open office hours, which we tried doing in the past to the president and vice president. Essentially, it's just like hours any student come in and talk about their problems. It doesn't work with the president and vice president because the schedules are so hectic with all the meetings and stuff. But the chief of staff, I think that person can make some hours during the week to kind of for everyone to come in and meet with them and tell them issues.
Senator Hibba.
In the past, I heard that Rhonda White was taking responsibilities lightly this semester because of several things going on. That lots of those are being passed to you as chief of staff. How are you going to take care of these new responsibilities?
Well, I think the majority of funds will be helping out the agencies. And I think increasing the chief of staff hours from 25 to 30. Like last year, I was only working 15 hours, but oftentimes I really was there 30 to 40 hours a week. I just don't believe in clocking over. For the record, I just think we all sign contracts where we get paid in our hours. You don't go over. That's just my opinion. So giving the extra, giving the 30 is actually a really good plus, and I can imagine. I'm just excited what I can do. It's something on the agencies. I've already met with Bulls Radio already, and I'm working at GCS still. But I'm like just being me. That's how I'm going to do it.
Any more questions for Mr. Berkowitz? President Voorhees.
So as the chief of staff, you have to deal with a lot of people. So in good situations and bad situations, what is your management style? and conflict resolution style?
Well, I think if you have a conflict, something you should address it personally. So I imagine, and that's where the perfect one-on-one meetings for, if someone's going to issue someone else, they can kind of voice it to me, and then we can handle it from there. I'm very much about getting both sides, they're bringing both to the table and working on some kind of arrangement. Just addressing the issue, not letting it dwindle, because when you let dwindle, office fights happen, you have this coalition versus that coalition, and it's not a fun environment to work in, it's not really emotionally safe environment to work in, so just addressing it when it comes up. I'm not ignoring it, just being in tune with your staff, being chief for staff to chief of staff.
Any more questions for Mr. Berkowitz? Do I see any motions? Senator Yolo.
If there are no more questions, motion to move into discussion period.
Any-
5 minutes.
Any objections into ending the question and answer period? Okay, Mr. Berkowitz, if you could please exit the room. Okay. Can you restate your second motion, please?
Motion to a 5-minute discussion period, 1 minute speaking time.
Any objections to a 5-minute speaking period with 1 minute speaking time? Seeing none, would anyone like to speak? Mr. Semino.
Senator Semino. I was actually a part of the Interfraternity Council on the Board of Delegates at the time when Mr. Berkowitz had the issue with his national headquarters. I actually signed a petition to have him reinstated into his presidency at the time when they pulled him. It's something very hard to do as a fraternal man to have to stand to your national headquarters, but he did was the right thing. He stood for what was right. That's something that I know that Berkowitz has done always, and he always does in his leadership and everything he does.
Thank you. Do you yield your time back to me?
Yes.
Sweet. Anything else? Senator Seitz?
Senator Sykes, I think that not to minimize the feelings of uncertainty with some senators, I feel that no matter how he got there, I think Greg's definitely the most certified, very qualified person for this job. I sat on your Stacy interview, and I mean, what you see is what you get with him. So I feel like no matter how you may be feeling about the process, at the end of the day, even if we redid the whole thing, Greg would still be the person in the position. And I yield my time back to you.
Thank you. Pro Tempore Aziz.
So I know Greg through his position in executive branch. So we're working on projects. He's always on time and hardworking. He can always be counted upon, especially during the memorial when people had kind of like given up on it at some point. He'd always follow up and try and get things on gear. So in terms of work ethic, someone you can count on.
Senator Miller?
Motion to end the discussion period and enter voting.
Any objections? Senator Yolo?
I'd like to.
Okay.
So I've seen Mr. Berkowitz on the office, and with Mr. Rondell only being able to put in a certain amount of hours of work, and Mr. Coco having meetings and stuff, I think it's really important to have a chief of staff who represents the executive branch. So you need a face of someone who's willing to talk to students and other people in the branches and represent SG. And someone who came up and admitted he was somewhat nervous, someone who talked with ease, presented with ease, was willing to tell you about how he reported his own fraternity from hazing and stuff like that. It really takes a lot of courage and shows who he is as a person and someone who students can go and talk to at SG. Some people can visit and really get to know our SG and our branches. So.
Thank you, Mr. Yolo. Would anyone else like to say anything? Any other points? Do I see any motions? Senator Johnson.
Motion to end discussion and move to voting procedures.
Any objections on ending discussion and moving into voting procedures for Chief of Staff appointee Greg Berkowitz? Seeing none, we'll now enter voting procedures. Okay, please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone clicked in? Is that now everyone? Yes? Before, can the 3 other people besides myself who abstained please state their extension? Senator Gluck?
He's a brother on the journey, and I don't think I can be unbiased.
Thank you. Senator Miller?
Based on personal prior knowledge and the situations that is presented, I do not believe I can vote without bias.
And who is the Senator Johnson?
Exactly the same thing as the Senator Gluck.
Okay, thank you. With a vote of 20 to 0 to 4, Gregory Berkowitz is immediately stopped. Okay, repeat after me. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida.
As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida.
I, Gregory Berkowitz.
I, Gregory Berkowitz.
Do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Chief of Staff.
Do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Chief of Staff.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, moving down the agenda, we now have Attorney General Alexander Johnson.
Right. Going through Alex Johnson, AG. All right, we interviewed 5 people and 23 applied. Any questions regarding the position of AG?
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexander Johnson. You can call me Alex for short, or some people know me as Johnson. You may call me whatever you please. I applied for the Attorney General position.
Oh, it might not be.
Can I get that time back?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, a little overview of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm going to talk to you about my time commitments, my previous experience, some new ideas, and then I'll summarize my ideas at the end. All right, a little background about myself. I'm from originally Melbourne, Florida. I graduated from Melbourne High School, class of 2012. Go Bulldogs. After that, I attended the University of South Florida, St. Petersburg, from the fall of 2012 until this recent spring. And then this summer, I'm officially now a USF campus student. I am a double major in criminology and Russian and a minor in leadership. My aspirations in life are to retire from the United States Air Force and then go into the Department of Drug Enforcement. Time commitments. This summer, I'm taking 2 online classes, 1 in summer B, 1 in summer C. Other than that, no time commitments. In the fall, I'll be taking 13 credits. I'll show you a calendar on the next slide, but I'll be taking Russian, a couple criminology classes. I'm also an Air Force ROTC student, and I have 1 online class. This is a calendar off my Google Calendar, just to give you another perspective of what my schedule will look like in the fall. All right, previous experience. I'm a Florida Notary Public as of the summer of 2013. For those of you who do not know what a Notary Public is, that is a person that certifies legal documents, that the person signing that document is that specific person. So reviewing legal documents is nothing new to me. That's why I feel, one reason I feel that I'm most qualified for the position of Attorney General. The second thing, I am a prior Chief Justice of the St. Pete campus. I was Chief Justice for the term of Marty Nelson, Board of Trustee last year. In that time, I had 9 declaratory judgments. For those of you who do not know what a declaratory judgment is, it is essentially a legal opinion that has binding nature signed by 3 justices. And then also, I'm sure you all are aware, this campus has parking appeals through the Supreme Court on a secondary nature. I, at the St. Pete campus, founded that this past year. We did not have that originally, and so did Sarasota. So that was through judicial summits organized by this court. We got that throughout the system. And then also, before I was Chief Justice at the St. Pete campus, I was also an Associate Justice. I do have trial experience. For those of you who knew Mark Lombardi Nelson, previous Board of Trustee, originally Mark did not win the presidential election. However, his rights were violated. I dissented in the case 4-1. The Vice Chancellor, the St. Pete campus has chancellors, not presidents and vice presidents. So the Vice Chancellor took my dissenting opinion and realized Mark's rights were violated as a student, overturned the court. And that's how Mark Lombardi Nelson became Board Trustee. Some new ideas. I think that we need to find some different outlets for branch communication. I think that since I'm a St. Pete transfer student, I have a lot of unique ideas that I can bring to this campus. Also, I think we need to find a way to be more paper friendly. As much as I love hanging things around the office, I'm an Eagle Scout at heart, so we need to find a way to be more sustainable. Compare the guiding documents from other student governments for new ideas. Through the judicial summits that we did this past year with all of the campuses, the biggest thing I would say that we did, and I'm sure that our justices here would agree, we traveled to the University of North Florida and started comparing their guiding documents and seeing what ideas we could take from them and vice versa, so that way we could build the best student government possible. And then also, one thing that I really want to do is expand the Office of Legal Affairs, so building that relationship between the Solicitor General and myself, making sure that we have a fantastic legal aid network that we can bring to our students, and making sure that they're also aware of it, and making sure also that they are aware of the secondary parking appeal system, because that truthfully is going to be the best thing that we can assist these students with. This concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Okay. Do I see a motion? Senator Schiffler.
Motion after 5-minute question, 1 minute or discussion, 1 minute interest.
Any objections? Okay. Since you made the motion, you can go ahead and go to the question.
I know, like what you mentioned, supposed to be like sustainability. How do you foresee implementing that? Because I know the tradition and whatnot, and like posting decisions on the door and everything and whatnot. So obviously, it's hard to break away from how we've done things for a while.
What I think would be a neat idea, and maybe some of you all have this in high schools, but having the closing, what are those things called? The boxes where you can post things. Rather than posting them all across the office and printing off multiple copies of everything, if we find one centralized location, people will be more attracted to that, and they'll also be able to find things a little easier. And then at the same time, we're not going to be printing off paper, which is, so many pieces of paper equals a ream, so many reams equals a box, which equals a lot of money that we're spending on the students' time, which is another reason that I think we need to take that into consideration.
Next question. Senator Hibbo.
In the past, talking to some student body presidents, some of them mentioned that their attorney general have tried to impeach them. How would you feel if the situation came up where you would have to impeach Mr. President?
It is situational based, because you also didn't give me into account, well, maybe those presidents needed to be impeached. So I think that it's dependent on the situation. First thing I would like to do is peacefully resolve things. As we go to the impeachment process, oftentimes emotions get aroused, and it's not a peaceful process, and it brings a lot of unnecessary feelings into the student government. And our purpose here is to serve the students, not fight each other. So if I can solve it peacefully, I would rather solve it peacefully. However, if there has been a rampant abuse of the rules, it's my job to enforce statutes. And if it needs to happen, it will happen.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
So, same question as other candidates. Since appointed, what have you been doing?
Okay. I've written a lot of resolutions. You saw 2 of them today. I have been rampant emailing, trying to get to know everybody at the campus. Like I said, I'm a St. Pete transfer, so I have to learn all the new people, to me anyway. In addition, I've also been expanding the legal network. The court went on a judicial forum, and we met with many different attorneys that are running for circuit or county judge. So networking with those legal professionals has been something that's been a big thing on my plate. I've attended all of the Senate committees so thus far, except Senex. I'm sorry, I didn't get there yet. But I've attended all those committees, and I've tried to help in any way possible. I've done a lot of document review. The first thing I did when I got here was I started reading over all of your documents and then sort of comparing them to St. Pete to see if there's anything that, they could, also I'd like to give your ideas to them if they are struggling with something and vice versa. So that was kind of my biggest thing when I got here.
Any more questions? Seeing none, do I see any? Oh, Senator Anta. Senator Anta.
Motion to close question and answers and move into a discussion period.
Any objections to closing question and answers? Okay. Mr. Johnson, thank you.
5 minutes, 1 minute speaking times, and I yield the right to speak first to the chair.
Any objections with 5 minutes and 1 minute speaking times? Will not enter a moderated caucus. I saw Shiflett's hand up first. So.
I don't know too well, but from what I've seen, he attended our committee meeting last week. He had the answer right on the spot for every question he asked, and it was the correct answer when we looked into it. And then on top of that, just from hearing him speak and whatnot, he seems very measured in how he responds to everything, which is exactly what you want in anyone's position in state government, which I think would be a great benefit to have.
Senator Ulloa.
The first thing is, he really did come, or I think he went to either Z's or, even me in the office one day, he asked, we put on a mailing list to go to the Senate committee meetings, and it's really important that he's there to help all of us, not just exec board, but it's very important. The second thing is, he said when he's new to the campus, and he read through all our documents. I've read through all of our statutes, it's over 100, it's 150 pages. It's not an easy read, so the fact that he actually went through all that to compare and went through, I think that's someone who's really dedicated to it.
Thank you. Senator Johnson.
He's awesome. But really, the first day he was in here, just like with Duo and Z, he did go up and ask, do we have a mailing list? He showed up our committee had some excellent ideas, but just as an aside, being a public notary when you're in college is kind of unheard of. That really is not just respectable, but it's you guys going places, and the fact that he even wants to help us out at this point is pretty commendable. I don't even see that.
Senator Hibba.
Motion to proceed to voting.
Any objections with closing discussion and moving into voting procedures? Seeing none. We'll now do just that. Please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Is that everyone? Yes? With a vote of 22 to 0 to 1, Alexander Johnson is confirmed as your new Attorney General. He should have stepped out. Oh, one of the senators, yeah. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida.
As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida.
I, Alexander Johnson.
I, Alexander Johnson.
Do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Attorney General.
Do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Attorney General.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To abide by the student body constitution.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
To uphold the statutes incorporated therein.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
And to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Okay, moving on the agenda, we have confirmation of Chief Justice Sami Hamid. So Coco, take it away.
Interviewed 5 people.
Senator Teva.
Before we begin, there's something I'd like to bring to the attention of the chair. It's probably better if it's green tea. There's black box covering the information.
Alright, that's something we'll look into changing.
Okay. With your permission, Mr. Senate President.
You can go ahead and introduce it.
All right. Up next, we have our appointee for Chief Justice, Senator Bed. He's been with us for 2 years now. He joined as a freshman under the Goff administration, and he has been soaring high. So I love it. We interviewed 5 people, and 23 people applied. Any questions regarding the position?
Go ahead.
Good evening, Senate. Thank you for allowing me to present to you today. Mr. Rodriguez, thank you for allowing me time to present. My name is Sami Hamid. I'm a junior here at USF. I'm studying political science with a minor in criminology. I hope to go to law school after USF. I'll just dive right into my class schedule. This summer I'm taking no classes. Made a lot of choices here at USF, by far the best choice I've made. In the fall, my schedule's pretty open. I have a couple online classes and classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays for about 3 hours. Talk a little bit about my extracurricular activities. I'm the president of USF Mock Trial Team. It's a competitive trial team here at USF. I'm the vice president and co-founder of Moot Court. I served as a University Conduct Board member for the Office of Rights and Responsibilities. I'm a brother in Alpha Sigma Phi fraternity. I just recently became a USF ambassador. I'm currently volunteering for the Laura Award for Judge campaign. My Supreme Court experience. This is not my first Senate. I've been through JEC twice, and this is my second Senate confirmation. I was privileged enough to be appointed by President Goff to the McKean Court when I was a freshman. I served for about 6 months, and once that administration ended, I was elected to be ranking justice for the 54th term for the Bonaventura Court. I served there for about 11 months. As soon as that term ended, I fell into interim senior, and I've been picking up chief duties ever since. Student government involvement, there's a lot on this list. If I skip over something that catches your eye, please feel free to tell me to go back to it, and I'll answer any questions regarding it. I sat on the 54th term plunge committee with Escato and members of legislative and exec last year. Last year with the Bonaventura Court, we created judicial branch summits. I know Mr. Johnson talked about it. I'll go into a little more depth. One evening when I was a freshman, me and Brian were sitting in the office. These kind of bigger looking guys from Sarasota came and talked to us. They had no documents, pretty much no court. St. Pete was struggling with the same types of issues. We started judicial branch summits. We brought our rules of procedure, our statutes. We helped them build up. From that, both Sarasota and St. Pete were able to use our proposal from 2008 to gain parking appeals for both their campuses. We also hosted the first SG System-wide Summit, which I plan to host again in September. This is where all 3 branches from all 3 campuses are able to come together, discuss new initiatives, ideas. It's actually very helpful. I got to serve last year on the Title IX University-wide committee. I hope to continue the tradition of Chief Justices serving on Ethics and Integrity Council. I served on the Constitutional Review Ad Hoc Committee. I served on the Student Memorial Ad Hoc Committee. Just like Aziz, I'm looking really forward to cutting that ribbon in fall. Court experience, I served on the Declaratory Judgment Panel, Judicial Review Panel, Referendum Review Panel. I served as a Judicial Branch Officer, which I kind of had to continue here as Chief. When I was in ranking justice, there wasn't as much work. I was really surprised falling into Chief, all the administrative duties. So I have pretty good knowledge in terms of working with ASBO, special funding, appropriations and audits. New initiatives and ideas. I want to continue interbranch collaboration. These include things as simple as working with UCGA on 10th days, working with the Office of Legal Affairs to establish that attorney network so that way you have someone here for legal aid every single week talking to students that need help. I want to continue system-wide collaboration. Just watching St. Pete and Sarasota's courts grow, I know that their other branches can grow as well, and I know that they can grow with the help of you guys. Other senates are struggling, and I know they're looking at you guys. Every senate at every other campus looks up to you guys. And that's how I felt with the courts did too. So that's why I want to continue system-wide collaboration. I think it's really important as a USF whole. I want to implement the Parking Advisory Council. My goal for this, I got this from University of North Florida when we went on that trip with Johnson. I want to pursue this as a university-wide committee. I know I have to talk to Brandon Hartman about that. I want President Genshaft to charge this as a committee so that students, Greek, SG, non-SG, all students have representation. and their voices are being heard in terms of parking concerns, which I think everyone has parking concerns. And I want to promote the Academic Integrity Committee, working through the Ethics and Integrity Council, along with the new honor court and all that stuff going on. I want to continue to promote that with the new chair of EIC, and just keep pushing that forward. Are there any questions?
Okay, do I see any motions? Senator Hibba.
Motion to proceed to a session of questions and answers. 10 minutes, 3 minutes speaking time.
Any objections? Senator Schiffer.
5 minutes, 1 minute,
Do you accept his, okay. Any objections to 5 minutes, 1 minute speaking time? Seeing none, we'll now move into question and answer. Since Senator Hibba made the motion, you can go ahead and ask the first question if you'd like.
How do you plan on reaching out to students, especially in the parking appeal process?
Parking appeal process, outreach. When I first got on here as a freshman, the first thing myself and Janice Shapiro did, we started the Judicial Branch Ad Hoc Committee on Outreach. A little to all tabling events, whether it be bull markets. We also host our own parking forums once per month, in which administrators from PATS, their director and business director, they'll come to our parking forums and talk to students about their concerns and what they can do.
Any more questions for Mr. Hamid? Senator Ulloa.
As someone who sat on the court for going on the 3rd year, what type of parking problems have you seen in the past, and have you thought of any cool, unique ways besides the new committee, which is brilliant idea?
Well, when I got on here as a freshman, I didn't think parking appeals were going to be as intense as they were. But you have students with real problems coming to you at these appeals. Some of these students are in a real financial bind, and if they don't pay these tickets, they can't register for classes in the fall, or something happened within their family. There's a lot of different circumstances. You have to take all this very seriously. Going forward, in terms of concerns that students have with parking, every year parking pretty much changes, except for this year, which is a good thing because all the prices stayed the same and everything stayed the same. But from my freshman year to my sophomore year, they always do this. They do research in terms of student spots and faculty spots, and they always change those based on the ratio. So that's as far as I've gotten with that. I hope that the Parking Advisory Council will benefit more, and more changes will be made once more student voices are heard.
Pro Tempore Aziz.
I know a past project with the court was to establish like an honor court system.
Past project?
Past.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right, honor court. I'll talk a little bit about that. We got the idea of the honor court from University of North Florida. Basically, what it is it's similar to the conduct board in the sense that students get due process when they've been accused of academic integrity violations. So if someone's plagiarizing on a paper, they would get this process to go before a board of students and faculty so that they could be heard and decided on by them. Currently, we only have the conduct board, and that only deals with conduct issues. So that's something that the Ethics and Integrity Council has put forth. And it'll be established in the fall, the Academic Integrity Committee, which will be under the EIC, and that's open for all students to apply. Students will be selected, and they'll be able to sit on the Academic Integrity Review Committee, which is the honor court that we'll be working on in the fall. And the structure of that, it depends on college, just kind of like Senate, depending on, it's 2 people from each college, actually, is how it's going to be. So there'll be 26 members on this committee.
Senator Hibba.
With the knowledge that you served on the Supreme Court in the past, what will you do differently this term, this semester?
I think the biggest skill I've gained from being on the court is, and the hardest thing I struggled with at first is removing emotion from the situation. Like I said, you have students coming with very serious situations to you, and you have to be able to remove emotion from that situation in order to judge fairly. I've been growing doing that, I think, in the past 2 years, and I hope to continue to do that and to guide other justices in doing the same.
Any more questions for Mr. Hamid? Senator Ulloa.
If there are no more questions, I'd like to end question and answer with the discussion.
Any objections to ending question and answer? Seeing none, we're no longer question and answer. Thank you, Mr. Hamid.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Ulloa, can you restate your motion with the form?
10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time, please.
Any objections to a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time? Seeing none, we will now enter discussion. And Mr. Yoloa, you have the floor.
As someone who's been on the court for 2 years, going into their 3rd year, I think this person has a lot of experience. They were ranking justice just having 6 months on the court. I think that shows a lot to their character, shows a lot to who they are, and the amount of ideas that they've had. He was working on as a first year on the court, setting up some of these meetings like that. I think it's just phenomenal. I think it's a great addition to the court.
Anyone else? Anyone else have anything to say? Anything at all? Senator Hibba?
Motion to end discussion and proceed to questions and answers.
You mean into voting?
To vote, yes.
Okay. Any objections into closing discussion? Seeing none? Can you just make another motion, please, Senator Hibba?
Motion to proceed to voting.
Any objections to entering voting? Seeing no objections. Okay, click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? Anyone's name still up there? If they voted 19 to 2 to 3, the 2 other people that abstained, can you please state your abstentions? Mr. Semino? Okay. Mr. Lopez? Okay, thank you. You let him in. And we'll have, congratulations. We'll have the previous speaker stop. Chief Justice, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida,
As a member of the student government of the University of South Florida,
I, Sami Hamed,
I, Sami Hamed,
do hereby affirm to uphold the office of Chief Justice,
to uphold the office of Chief Justice,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to abide by the student body constitution,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
to uphold the statutes incorporated therein,
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
and to represent the student body to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay. Moving on, confirmations are now done for the day. We'll now move on to statutory legislation on first reading. Do I hear any motions? Senator Yoloa.
Motion to enter the first reading of SB 55-002, clarifying confirmation procedure.
Any objections? Seeing none, we will now enter the first reading for SBS 55-002. This is really movement.
So basically, what we tried to do was clarify the confirmation procedure. When we were looking at it, it was a little bit unclear which positions needed to go before JEC and then Senate, as opposed to just going before JEC. So if we go through. So what we did first was define which ones are going to have to, we believe is a more rigorous process, go before JEC and us. So we define that as all the directors of agencies, so all of the, it changes every year, that's why we use the big term director of agencies, but basically the marketing department, governmental affairs, all those directors are going to have to come before us, as well as all the standing positions, which are defined in 304 of our statutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's chief of staff, attorney generals, CFO, and solicitor general, that's the four. Those are the standing positions. They will always have to come before us because they are the constants within the executive branch. And then all our judicial branch nominees, because those happen very rarely. As he said, they have very good job security. So when they do come up, we want to make sure that they come before us as well, in addition to JEC. The next amendment to it will define will define the positions that just need to go before JEC. Prior to this, it was just approved by the Senate President or pro tempore. They had the ability to just pass it through JEC and not before Senate. Now it's actually defined, and we still gave the Senate President the option, or the Senex the option to send those positions which are not defined in the above 406.1 to come before Senate, even if they're not defined there. If the Senate President feels it's important or feels that it may be something that the Senate wants to weigh in on, the Senate Executive Board can send them to us by a Senex majority vote. I think that's all the amendments. Is there any questions? Anything I missed?
Any questions for Mr. Malonga? Senator Law.
Question. As of now, what positions would only go to JEC based on?
That was what was unclear about it. It was pretty clear that the standing positions and directors needed to go before. What was unclear was the assistant directors, and their position is called coordinators. Thank you. The coordinators, or whatever they were chosen to be called that year, it was unclear if they needed to come before JEC and then Senate, or just JEC. It was up to the Senate President and pro tempore. They basically just made executive or legislative decision of whether they were going to come before us. So now it's a little bit more clear, it's defined, and they still have the ability to send them before us if they see fit.
Senator Schiffler.
The other thing we look to remove in this is to remove the ability of, let's say, the Senate President or anyone else has a disagreement with the President, that he can't just either rush through appointees for the President or hold up his appointees, especially for those positions that may not need to go through the Senate.
Well said. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Senator Yoa.
Have you talked to the current president and possibly vice president, see what their feelings are? Do they agree that this should be by same?
I believe President Coco was here for the first meeting, but not for the second one when we amended it further. So if somebody wanted to yield to him to ask his opinion, I don't know if people want to speak to him after that.
Pro tempore Aziz.
I wrote the bill with amendments. So what happened was last year we made these similar changes in the ROPs, but not in the statutes. So pretty much this is our practice. We're just putting it into statutes so it's clarified. The executive branch changes every single year, clarifies the standing positions, and judicial branch has to go through JEC and Senate. So pretty much it's bringing us up to date. Also changing from a copy to a digital or hard copy so we don't waste paper. So
Kind of just codifies what we're already doing.
yeah, pretty much.
Any other? Senator Miller.
Have you taken a look at this and do you agree that these are the positions that have been in the past?
Yeah, in the past, it's been the tradition, very emotional. In the past, Lola, if you want to address your question.
In the past, is this how these positions have been gone through, where only those positions have gone through both, and then the coordinators and
Senator Hassan.
Except the directorial and the standing position, the only position which for which we did 406.2 was the auditor general position, because we were having this discussion in our committee that it was probably a directorial position. So if Senex wanted, they could put it through Senex. They would have to do a vote on it.
Any more questions? Do I see any motions? Senator Yoa.
motion to enter, motion to enter second reading.
Any objections to entering second reading? Okay, we are now in the second reading. Mr. Longo. Senator Yoa.
Motion to disperse the second reading.
Thank you. Any objections to dispersing the second reading? Seeing none, the second reading is dispersed. Do I see any more motions? Senator Johnson.
Motion to move into voting procedures.
Any objections to moving into voting procedures on SBS 55-005? Seeing none, we will now enter voting procedures. Oh, it was -002, excuse me. Okay, click one of you vote yes, two of you vote no, and three to abstain. Is that everyone? Has everyone voted? With a vote of 23 to 0 to 1, SBS 55-002 passes.
I like that vote. Nice vote. I think you did it.
There we go. Okay. Moving on with the agenda, we have SBS 55-005, the last act. Do I see any motions? Senator Yolo.
Motion to enter, or I move to enter the first reading of SBS 55-005, the last act.
Any objections to entering first reading of SBS 55-005? Seeing none. Hold on, let me zoom out.
Ready? So this is SBS 55-005, the Lakeland Access and Student Transition Act, called the last act. So the intent of this legislation is to update statutes to reflect the current needs and concerns of the Lakeland student experience. So just to recap what the Lakeland experience is. A couple years ago, the legislator split off Lakeland and dissolved that campus and created another university, Florida Polytechnic. And they gave $2.5 million of their A&S fees to our student government, mostly the executive branch, to manage, to do like a teach out where those students are remaining, get their degrees or transfer to USF or another university. And over the years, now we're down from, I guess, there's like 200 students. Now we're down to 7. So this legislation updates all of these items to reflect the current needs and concerns of the Lakeland students. So first thing is, it doesn't show the delete stuff, does it?
It says it right here.
Oh. So changing the Lakeland Student Council to the Department of Lakeland Affairs. Because essentially there's nothing like to have a council for 7 students. They're basically just a room with like soda and hot cocoa and computers. I'm not exaggerating. So you guys saw, like, I deleted, there's a bunch of other stuff there, but the new wording is there should be a Department of Lakeland Affairs comprised of 1 director of Lakeland Affairs, 1 assistant director, pretty much 2 people to be in charge of that, of Lakeland. For the purpose of organizing, providing student programming, services, and other initiatives deemed appropriate. Some examples like programming is like, they have like traditional hoodies that the campus has, so that's like like catered classroom, so that's their student programming. Scroll on down. Most of it is just changing it to Department of Lakeland Affairs. So another one is any member of the Department of Lakeland Affairs may only be removed by the student body president with justifiable cause via a written memo and a majority vote of the Senate. So the committee felt that was the best way to remove a member. So moving on, the Department of Lakeland Affairs shall be responsible for reporting to the student body president at least once every 2 weeks. That gives like a mechanism for when the director or assistant director should report to the president. Since we don't want to leave Lakeland in the dark, we also want to have updates on what they're doing and what their needs are for the time being. So before, Lakeland used to submit like an annual budget, but now there's no need for an annual budget, so now they're going to submit an interim budget. And so I did have to cross out annual and put an interim. So we also changed the deadlines. So the student body president shall recommend an interim allocation for the Department of Lakeland Affairs no later than the second Friday of the fall semester. So we're moving on to an interim cycle. And the Department of Lakeland Affairs shall submit an interim budget request to the student body president no later than the fourth Friday of July. So pretty much they have the summer for the Lakeland people to make their interim budget submitted to the student body president. And also, they're not going to be subject to any penalties up to 25% of no travel. That should be it.
Yeah. Any questions for Mr. Aziz?
This one is last time we went to Lakeland, Gary hired one of their graduate students as like a temporary employee. Because right now there is no Lakeland Student Council, they're all terminated. So there's no one working there, so we need this to pass so we can have like a Lakeland person.
Senator Ansar.
Just a point of information that I'd like to present is just we could set it up.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know that when we do a second reading and we disperse that second reading, the point of doing that is to accommodate for extenuating circumstances. For example, like what we are presenting with here, in that it needs to be passed sooner rather than later, seeing as to how we do have a limited amount of time of existence, and we do want to be able to govern that existence for as limited as it is. So, yeah, so that's why we do that whole second reading disbursement. Because, yeah, just want to say that.
So pretty much for the amount of money left in Lakeland, their own budget will go to hire these people and do their own programming. So that's what these two people are going for.
Any questions for Mr. Aziz? Senator Yola.
So they have 7 people on Lakeland campus, and 2 of them are going to be in charge of programming.
There's 7 people that are physically beyond campus. The rest, about like 40 or 50, are online classes. And these positions are open to either Lakeland students or campus students. So that's up to the executive branch. I would assume it's either be like either Lakeland and campus, some mix of it. We have them reporting. Either they go to Lakeland or Lakeland comes to us. So it's whatever the executive branch wants. You can ask them if you want to stay there.
Senator Johnson.
I was just joking. Would you like Lakeland to come to us, or us to go to Lakeland?
Go ahead.
More looking at a mixture of both right now. More talking with our staff and Lakeland. So either the director will be from Lakeland or from Tampa, or so we'll see how the quality of candidates are, and we'll go through the hiring process again.
Any more questions for Mr. Aziz? Do I see any motion? Senator Yola.
Motion into the second reading of item 3.
Yes.
SB S35-005 class.
Any objections? Senator Hassan. Any objections to Yola's motion? Seeing none, we'll now enter the second reading of SBS 55-005. Right. Senator Hassan. Any objections to dispersing the second reading of SBS 55-005? Seeing none, the second reading has been dispersed. Any more motions? Senator Malaga.
Move to enter into the voting procedures.
Any objections to entering voting procedures on SBS 55-005? Seeing none, we will now vote on this bill. Okay, please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Mr. Romero? Anyone else? Has everyone voted? For the vote of 23 to 0 to 1, SBS 55-005 passes. Okay, moving down the agenda, we will move on to fiscal legislation on first reading. Do I see any motions? Somebody else? Somebody else? No. No. Somebody who hasn't spoken today. Senator Lansing, do you have any motions?
I motion to do the first reading on fiscal legislation.
Any objections to entering the first reading of SBA 55-002? Seeing none, we'll now enter the first reading. Mr. Johnson? You want the presentation or? Yeah, we have to use presentation.
Hey guys, this is our first interim budget request presentation of the year. It's not going to be our last. We're going to have a lot of these. You know, again, of the 790, I believe, organizations that request funding, a little under 100 go through us. So this is going to be literally 100th of the legislation presentations that we'll look at tonight. All right. Just kind of a preface, I've never done this before, and also, which is important because part of this whole process is setting standards for how to approach further requests in the future. So please do ask me lots of questions, make me think. I'm going to defer some questions to members of my committee so they can help me answer it too. But this is a learning process for us and for me, so I would really appreciate your staunchest criticisms in the interest of objective growth, right? So, first up, our interim account balance is completely full at $1,500,000, $150,000. All right, the first organization, the bill that we want to submit is SBA 55-002, Future Business Leaders of America, known nationally as Phi Beta Lambda. The purpose of this club is to provide USF students with the skills and tools to succeed in a business environment. These skills and tools are developed by working collaboratively as a team, bringing in guest speakers who can provide insight and/or expose members to professional opportunities such as internships, teaching members professional skills such as interviewing and resume building. As an organization, we feel it is imperative for everyone, regardless of major career aspirations, to feel comfortable interacting with other people in a professional manner in order to obtain their goals. So, basically, sum all that up, they are a nationally recognized business promotional group for students, and I should say business promotional group, kind of almost like a fraternity, but not as fraternal, if that makes any sense. And they have student chapters known as the Future Business Leaders of America. Nationally, again, Phi Beta Lambda. Locally, Future Business Leaders of America. Okay. They requested $3,080 for food, $3,670 for materials, $6,750 subtotal, and then with the overhead, it comes out to a little over $7,000 was their total request. As you can see, once submitted through our committee, We had some issues with their request, which we're going to go into in a minute. But they are receiving almost $6,000 less. Again, $960, $410, $1,370 total, and with overhead, $1,452. All right. The biggest issues, the three reasons that we cut back on the fund so much, we just went ahead and stuck to standards that were set this last year. So, for example, we're allowed to allocate up to $7 a head per food. They asked for $7 per head per food for every single event. So most of this money that was cut was because we went ahead and cut it down to $2 per head for minor events and $3 per head for the 2 banquets that they held. Also, one event was inaccessible for the majority of the student body, which we'll go into in a second, and on top of that, they really did, we feel, over-allocate for many of their requests. So, going to the events. The first event is the membership retreat. In short, this is the event that we did not fund whatsoever. It's a membership retreat for members of the organization who are already part of the organization. It takes place over the summer, so it was impossible for people outside of the organization to attend. That is cut and dry, not accessible to the majority of the student population. We did not fund any of their requested food or material allocations for that. But that's the description right there if you feel the need to read it. Fall Interest Dinner. This is their first major event. It is an interest dinner for students interested in joining the organization. Food covers 60 people for $7 per head. There's the standard issue again. Materials include membership pins, utensils and decorations, and printed materials. It's interesting here, Senator Romero, actually, my vice chair, I do want to give a shout out to him. He was appointed a while ago, but he's done an excellent job so far, so thank you, Senator Romero. He pointed out that a standard that we used last year as far as utensils go is that organizations need utensils for all their events. They need plates, cups, forks, whatever. And instead of allocating $50 or $100 for every event for utensils, that's ridiculous. What you can instead do is allocate $50, which is a large amount for utensils for the first event. The second event, you do $25 for utensils, and then after that, each successive event receives $5 less. So the next event would be 20. After that, 15, 5, 10, 5, 0. All right, so that's the standard we use with utensils, just so you guys know. But that's the standard we're using with all organizations. This is an approved event that we went through. I don't believe that we funded for membership pins because they're personalized. And printed materials, we informed them they can receive all their printed materials at the printing office downstairs. Next event is the Fall Networking Mentoring Leadership Conference. So FBLA participates in nationally recognized competitions sponsored by Phi Beta Lambda. The idea is that at these conferences, I guess that's the correct word. It really is a competition. Members compete by having interviewing competitions, resume building competitions, special dinners, stuff like that. Organizations receive national recommendation, which is good, but it does require, we were kind of iffy about this because it is kind of, do we want to have is this really open access to anyone who wants to join? We deem that again, the utensils and decorations we knocked down. We're not giving them plaques, pens, stoles, or cords, simply because those all are personalized items that we wouldn't be able to ever see again. Yeah, is that right? No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this again. The leadership conference, we're not giving them the study guides and sample test because that is something that it's not really, it's a personalized thing. We really can't find that kind of stuff. So they lost some money for that too. Again, with the senior send-off, we were kind of worried this was going to be kind of a closed event. But we are going to fund them a little bit for food and for materials. But again, we're not going to fund them for those things I just said. So they're not going to receive any personalized materials. Moving on. Spring Welcome Back Barbecue is open access. Didn't have any issues with it other than we're not going to be giving them their personalized materials. Professional Development Leadership Skill Forum. This is an event where they have people show up to campus and basically advertise the importance of business etiquette and proper dress and stuff like that. It's good, but they keep asking for more extra money for food and these study guides, which we really can't fund. They also did ask for a $150 tablecloth provided by Phi Beta Lambda, and we consider that a banner simply because it will be reused over and over again, so we are going to fund them for that. But that's why their decorations, 150 of that 180 are, in fact, tablecloth expenditures. end of the year banquet. This is their last event of the year. Again with the food, and again with the personalized items. They're not being funded very much for this event either. And I can show you guys the breakdown of each of these if you're interested. But the last event was the professional attire night. The idea of this is that we would actually, they hope that we would fund them buying suits from Men's Warehouse. So in the future, members of Phi Beta Lambda, FBLA, PBL would receive a discount at Men's Warehouse, basically, which is, while not explicitly against our statutes, it is kind of, we didn't feel really comfortable with that. We don't really think we should be advocating those kind of business groups in such a kind of backdoor approach. So we're not, there is a really awesome program on campus called Suitable, which lets you borrow suits free for interviews. So if we're directing them to that service instead of appropriating them for the money they're asking for. So that's the presentation. If you could pull up the bill. So, does anyone have any questions at all about any of the appropriations that we're recommending to the Senate tonight?
Pro Tem Porzi.
Did you mention about the fiscal year thing? So be for next fiscal year?
Yes, I apologize. All of these, every single interim request that you were going to receive before July 8th takes effect on July 8th because July 1st is the beginning of the next fiscal year. So, thank you very much.
Senator Ulloa.
When is the start of the fiscal year? July 8th, not July 7th.
It's July 1st. The business office doesn't, they need the time to process the massive flood of requests they get, so no one's getting any money until a week after the beginning of the fiscal year. So technically it goes into effect July 1st, but their funds are not going to change their bank account until the year. Good question.
Senator Maloney.
So you mentioned the $7 per person for food. Could you go into that a little bit more? What do you mean $2 event for? Explain that one.
Yeah. So the purpose of the Appropriations and Auditing Committee is to subsidize, not pay for events. What that means is that if someone wants to spend, wants to go to Chick-fil-A and get chocolate sandwiches for everyone, and spend $5 per sandwich, we can pay for part of that, but we are not going to feed the mouths entirely of everyone who wants to show up for that event, right? If we did so, we would have no money, and that 150 grand would disappear overnight. All right, so as a standard, the guidelines say we cannot pay any more than $7 per head per event, right? But the standards that our committee has adopted internally say that we're only going to subsidize $2 per head per event or $3 per semester banquet. So that's why I believe one of the events was an end-of-year banquet where it funded a little bit more food because that's what they, with the banquet. So we're doing a little bit more. But does that answer your question?
Go ahead, Ms. Maloney.
So one quick answer first, please. As a follow-up, the $7 is the permanent limit that nobody could ever, like, in other words, as an etiquette or as a, what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's unconstitutional for us to spend.
Exactly. You could never go above 7, but you guys have adopted 3 and 2 as the maximum, and that'll be what you use throughout the year.
Yeah. And just to clarify, it's not just we. Like I am adopting this currently, but these are apparently up to 10 years old. So these standards that we're using in the committee. So
just want to understand. Thank you.
Excellent question.
Senator Ulloa.
They're going to set up that really quick for everyone. The $2, because they're typically buying bulk as well. So if you're buying food for 50 or 100 people, $200 is kind of a lot of food to have for an event as well. So that's why they figured 2 is.
Senator Hibba.
How much does a banner typically cost?
It depends on the banner. Each banner is different, made differently, unique in its own way. We went ahead and set aside, again, standards, but the idea is that each organization's not going to need too many banners. So if in one of their projects or events or whatever, they want to get a one-time purchase of a nice banner, we understand that because they're going to use it for the rest of the year and for the year after that. So that's why we allocate $150 per banner. We assume that the tablecloth will be used for this year and successive years, and those are treated like a banner. So,
Senator Ulloa.
Follow up on that. We actually looked that up in special funding committee last year, and typically a banner will range starting at about $150 for about a large enough banner to actually read and write stuff on. So it typically starts from $150 for a good banner.
Senator Schiffler.
I'm not sure if I misheard or not. I know you mentioned there were some things that you didn't fund because you said you never see them again, but when I was reading through the request, it said that they would be returned, like after graduation, was sold and stuff, but you said you weren't
Right. FBLA, for those of us in fraternities, right, we receive pins as part of, it's a sign of membership. In theory, those pins could be returned to the organization and used later, although it doesn't make much sense to spend money on personalized pins, because they do look different from time to time. To spend money on these personalized pins and then give them back. So, whereas it could be construed that these would be returned, it's not a question on whether or not the organization would be honest or not. We just felt that if they want to spend money on pins, they should be able to keep their pins. And if we funded them for things like pins or stoles or cords, and we audited them later and saw that they no longer had these items, they would be in trouble. We didn't want to put them in that position. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any more questions for Senator Johnson? Senator Miller.
Just as a point of clarification, under Chapter 804, 804.2.17.7 says that we may fund mailers up to $200.
Easy, my opinion.
Anything else? Senator Yolo.
If there's no more questions or discussion, I'll move to voting.
Any objections to moving into voting? Seeing none, we will now move into voting for SBA 55-002.
Do we need to do a first reading?
Well, technically this was the first reading, but I missed that. Okay, please click 1 if you vote yes, 2 if you vote no, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? With a vote of 23 to 0 to 1, SBA 55-002 passes. Okay, moving down the agenda, we will now go into an election process for the formation of for the seats in the joint ad hoc on the election. So, do I see any?
I'll explain to you.
Pro Tempore Aziz, go ahead.
So, this joint ad hoc on the election process is collaborative between the 3 branches, and along with our director, Gary Manco, really to evaluate like a holistic approach to the election process, including Title VII, and all the people involved, like Escato, the Dean for Students, CORE, us, all those people. Kind of get like a whole look of it and evaluate it, and really make recommendations. So, as a chairperson for that committee, the way that I'm envisioning it is involving 3 parts. First part is everyone do their research, like read Title VII, compare to other schools, and get data, really learn about the election rules that we have. Second part is to get bring the issues that based on our data and things that we've researched on and things that Gary will bring to us and things you've seen. And then the third part will be making the amendments. So that way we have a good structure of what we'll be doing throughout the process. The vision is for us to meet after, probably by end of the week, I'll start out doodle, whoever's on the committee. Pick a time, hopefully we'll meet once a week or once every 2 weeks. And we'll meet into the fall and make our recommendations before the midterm elections. So, any questions about it before we start?
Senator Hema.
How much time in terms of hours a week would this be expected to take?
Probably, given the history of these types of committees, it's going to be long. You're going to have a lot of, probably going to pick a day where there's no night committees, maybe like either Monday or Friday. Probably a good time. Everyone would mutually agreed upon time. Probably going to spend a good 2-3 hours per committee. We're gonna get into heated discussion. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion. We're gonna like hash things out. So the expectation is it'll be a thorough like committee each one. Some committees maybe less, some maybe more. So
Senator Glock.
How long will this ad hoc committee be in session?
So we'll be meeting starting in the summer. As soon as we have all the 3 senators and the 1 positions from judicial and 1 position from the executive branch. We're meeting throughout summer and into the fall semester. We'll be ending with it last week in September.
Last week of September.
So that's when we present the results to the Senate. And whatever the results are, we'll have enough time to debate it, vote on it before it's implemented into law.
Any more questions for Pro Tempore Aziz? Seeing none, we'll now move into nominations. Would anyone like to make any nominations? Senator Miller.
I nominate Senator Malenga for
Senator Malenga, do you accept?
Yes.
Any more nominations? I saw actually Senator Schiff was named. Same person? Okay. Senator Yulo.
I nominate Senator Miller.
Senator Miller accepts. Senator Gluck.
I'd like to nominate myself.
And okay.
I'd like to nominate
Senator
Senator Sykes.
Senator Malanga.
Nominate Senator Hassan.
Any more nominations? Senator Johnson.
I'll nominate Senator Madden.
Senator Madden. Any more nominations? Senator Miller. Senator Yulo.
I nominate Senator Romero.
Senator Miller. Is there anyone else? Pro Tempore Aziz.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Shiflett.
Mr. Shiflett.
What is his last name? Like 2-0.
Yeah.
I accept.
Senator Miller. Any objections to closing nominations for 3 seats for senators on the ad hoc on elections? Seeing none, we will now close nominations and move into presentations. So what I was thinking was 3-minute presentation time for each nominee, unless you guys would like to see something different. Okay, so we will go in order of nominations. So Senator Miller, Senator Gluck, Senator Sykes, Senator Hassan, and Senator Shiflett, may you please leave the room. And the first person presenting will be Mr. Michael Malanga. Yeah, I got it. Come on. Okay, Mr. Malanga, when you have 1 minute left, I'm going to give you 1 tap, 30 seconds, another tap, and then I will gavel you out at 3 minutes, and you'll have 10 seconds to wrap up any last sentences you were saying.
The first tap is at 1 minute.
First tap 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then I'll gavel you out. Once I gavel you out, you have 10 seconds.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right, so you guys have got to be tired of hearing my voice at this point. Again, I'm Michael Malanga, and I would like to be a part of the ad hoc committee on election process. I want to start off by telling you a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm a senator from the College of Business, serving on the Rules Committee. As Senator Antor mentioned, I'm the vice chair of the Rules Committee, and I see that's important. I think it's important for a couple of reasons. I'll mention it a little bit later as we go through. I'm an accounting and economics major. I'm hoping to get my CPA and hopefully be able to use that to bridge a gap between some of the tax law holes that we have and businesses, trying to be government work for business as opposed to against it. And I'm involved across campus in a variety of different things. The one you probably know the best is the Green and Gold Guides. I'm the executive director of G3. So yeah, we're the ones always getting in your way on CATs or in school. I really apologize for that. I always tell the guys to get off CATs, but we'll talk about that later. I'm also in the Business Science program and the Provost Scholars program. So I have several ideas for the election process and how we could improve it. I think that we all saw this year that there are any number of problems with the process, and certainly a lot of ways that we can fix it, and I'd love to be able to weigh in on that. The first thing I'd like to say is that I want to get back to the basics with Title VII, and I think that we need to really define our goals, and our goal should be to provide fair elections for both the voters and the candidates in the elections, and to make sure that the process runs smoothly, that everybody's well informed, that nobody at the end of it can say, I don't understand why somebody got elected, I don't understand why something happened. So I think it should be a lot more clear, and by simplifying legislation, we can do a better job of that. I also would like to change the role of the ERC. Most notably, I think there's a problem with the fact that the ERC has the power to both investigate the claims against the candidates and also to rule on those claims. In the U.S., we have what we call adversarial process, where a defendant and a prosecutor argue in a court or discuss the matter in court, going against one another, and then we have a judge that's separate from those two entities that decides the matter. I don't think that any of those three entities should be the same two people as opposed to three. And to end off with why I think you should choose me out of the 15 people that we have running for this position, I really like this quote: "Democracy is not so much a form of government as a set of principles," by President Wilson. I really think that we need to define the principles we want to run our elections by and then hope to govern by them. I'm on the Rules Committee. I can be a great liaison between this ad hoc committee and the Rules Committee, because hopefully the recommendation will translate into a bill that will have to go before the Rules Committee first, and I think it would be helpful to have somebody in the room that can say, this is our thinking on the matter, this is why we went down this path to fix it, and here's why it makes a lot of sense for us to adopt it as a Senate. So I hope you'll choose me to the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wanda. If you could send in Senator Miller, please.
Absolutely. Mr. Miller.
Howdy, y'all.
Okay, Senator Miller, you will have. Do you have presentation?
I do not have this.
Okay, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. At 1 minute, I will tap the gavel once. At 30 seconds, I'll tap it again. And then at 3 minutes, I'll actually tap the gavel hard. And you have 10 seconds to finish up any last sentences or thoughts you were saying. So go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. So my interest for this ad hoc committee is to actually work with the biggest faces in the MSG. And I believe this is a good way to do it. I'm familiar with Title VII. I have also studied under one of the big campaign managers for the Coca White campaign, and I honestly feel that I would be a beneficial part to this ad hoc committee. That'll be it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. If you could please send in Senator Gluck.
Yeah.
Mr. Gluck, you have 3 minutes to present. At 1 minute, I'll give you one tap of the gavel. At 30 seconds, I'll give you another tap of the gavel. And then once you're out of time, I will tap the gavel again, and you have 10 seconds to finish any thoughts.
Okay. Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm Josh Gluck. I'm the current president of Alpha Epsilon Pi, the scholarship chair for the IFC. And I would like to be on this ad hoc committee because I find the information very suiting to what I want to do eventually. I just took the LSATs yesterday, and I'm planning to apply to law school. And this is similar to a bunch of rules and procedures that are similar to that. I would like to be a judge later in life, so I figured that this is a good start. It's a really cool process, and I'd like to be involved with it. I have a free schedule now besides my 2 commitments. Both of those don't take too much time at summer at all because there's no meetings for my fraternity in the summer, and IFC only meets once a week. And I feel this would be a good suit. I haven't studied for the LSAT, I just took it, and that cleared up. And in fall, my schedule is 1 honors course and thesis.
So?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Gluck. If you could please send in Senator Seitz. Okay, Ms. Seitz, you have 3 minutes to present. When there's 1 minute left, I'll give you one tap of the gavel. 2 minutes left, I'll give you another tap. And then 3 minutes, I'll give your last tap. And then after that last tap, you have 10 seconds to finish up any last remarks. So whenever you're ready.
I'll keep it brief. I'm
actually a first semester senator right now, so I'm still relatively new with everything that's going on, but I definitely want to get more involved. I was involved with the election campaigns last semester. No matter what side you were really wanting to vote for, there was definitely a lot of miscommunication and things that happened that could have been avoided if expectations were more clearly set. So I really want to be a part of the committee that could help make future elections run off smoother.
Thank you, Bissett. Could you please send in Senator Hassan? Senator Hassan, you'll have 3 minutes to present. When there's 1 minute left, I'll give you a tap of the gavel. When there's 30 seconds left, I'll give you a second tap. And then when time's out, I'll give you a third tap. After that last tap, you have 10 seconds to finish any last sentences. And go ahead whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Senate. Today I'm running to be in the ad hoc committee for amendments we're going to do to Title VII. Now let's start off with me. I'm like a senator for the 55th term, and currently I'm serving in the Rules Committee, the Special Funding Committee, and the Appropriations and Audits Committee. I have tried to be as involved as possible in 3 of my committees, been there on time. I've took like special tasks from Chris whenever he delegated me to, and I've always been there. About Title VII and my knowledge of Title VII, I've read that, and knowing how convoluted the election process was the previous year, I would want to be in that committee and make sure next year we do not go through the same process. And whenever a problem comes up, we can look up to our Constitution and say there's nothing going on with our Constitution, and we can like solve the problem like that right away. Like back in the ERC hearing, I remember them having a problem with what the definition of a celebrity was, and that was not defined in the Constitution. And there was a havoc going on about that. So making the process more simpler, more easier, and making a better system through which the election process would be better the upcoming year. That's what I want, and I really want to be more involved. And I think like being in the ad hoc committee for Title VIII would be like one of the major ways through which I could do that. And I'm really passionate about this. And I've read Title VII for a considerable amount of times to know that what could it be a possible direction of taking it away. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hassan. If you could please send in Senator Shiflett, please. Thank you. Okay, Senator Shiflett, you have 3 minutes. At 1 minute, I'll give you a tap of the gavel. At 30 seconds, I'll give you another tap. And then I'll give you a third tap when you're out of time. After the third tap of the gavel, we have 10 seconds to finish up any last remarks you would like to make. And you can start whenever you'd like.
Thank you. Hi guys, most of you know me. I'm Sam Shiflett. I'm a computer science major and a poli-sci minor. Why do I want to be on this committee? I feel like all of us witnessed the elections last year, and no matter which side you supported, they were by many considered illegitimate, and it delegitimizes like what we're doing here today. As a result, there should be no ambiguity in our standard operating procedures, especially when it comes to elections. It should be clear cut, and that's what we want to do in this committee. We want to make sure that our recommendations reflect that, so that when we do go to amend them, that they reflect that. And as a result, next year and from here on out, there's nothing like what happened this year. Beyond that, as far as experience, I helped write the Constitution for Video Game Club when I was an officer. I've helped with our statutes at College Democrats. Beyond that, I was involved in student government in high school. As for my commitments and whatnot, I do work for the university 40 hours a week right now, but that's going to bump down to 25 to 30 starting in fall. Taking 3 classes right now in fall, possibly 4, 2 over the summer. I think that my experience, along with my ability to technical write, especially as a computer science major, qualifies me for this. Like I said, I'm very passionate about making sure that we never have a situation like occurred in this previous election happen again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I see any motions? Senator Johnson.
I move to enter voting procedures. Oh, I'm sorry, I rescind that. I'm sorry.
motion to enter a question and answer period of, I guess, 10 minutes with 30-second answer for Anna.
Any objections to entering a 10-minute question and answer period with each senator getting 30 seconds to respond? Seeing none, I will now let the senators in for questions and answers. Okay. We will. If you could stand in order, Malanga, Miller.
From the side.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Malanga, Miller, Gluck, Sykes, Hassan, Shipley. Thank you. You'll have 30 seconds to answer each question. At 10 seconds, I'll give you the tap of the gavel, and then at the 30 seconds, I'll give you a more firm tap of the gavel. And Senator Yoloa, or Senator Pro Tempore? President Pro Tempore.
All right. What sets you apart from any other candidate for this position in the committee?
So as I mentioned, there's actually several rules committee members, and I think that's a very important aspect. So it'll set me apart from a couple of the members up here. But in addition to that, I really think I'm going to bring a passion and enthusiasm. I've already read Section 7 in addition to the ERC rules of procedure, and that's why I have some of those recommendations. I think I can go a little bit further into it if I was given the opportunity to sit on the committee.
Ever since I got into SG, I have been trying to gain as much knowledge as possible and slowly biding my time through all my committees. But through that biding my time, I've been absorbing information, and I believe through that information that I have absorbed from all of the committees that I'm involved in, 3 of them, I can bring that to the table in the PRC.
I feel mine would be using the law and logic as my uniqueness. I would model after what our current government for the United States does, because they have similar rules and procedures for voting and for elections. So I would use my knowledge with that to help change the rules here.
I am the newest senator out of everyone standing in front of you, but I think my unique perspective is that I joined student government because of everything. Because I became so interested in elections, so I feel like I could bring a really new perspective on some different ideas that I have that could definitely impact the ad hoc committee.
In my few days here, I've tried to absorb as much as knowledge as possible, shadowing as many people as possible. Don't be my sound like it sometimes, but and I have tried to absorb the full literature of Title VII, the RPs, and most importantly, I've been in 3 committees, so I tried to absorb as much as knowledge I could get, and I believe I bring in a new perspective because I have been functioning in a way as to bring logic. I'm also pre-law, so that helps.
I think my background as a computer scientist or computer science major really gives me an aptitude or shows my aptitude for very concise and not too technical writing. That's, at least to me and people who can have the training to read it, it's very understandable and there's no room for like misinterpretation.
Okay, Senator Trump.
What do you believe is the single most important change that needs to take place in an election process?
Okay, we'll start with Shiflett and work all the way back down to Malanga.
Basically, the way we handled, especially after we saw this last year, the way we handle grievances, it's obviously not very clear-cut in how we're supposed to handle them. So at least what I look for in those is making clear recommendations on how grievances are handled, how they're appealed, and who has the ability to approve or handle those grievances.
For me, I wanted to make the grievances more clear as to when a grievance is filed, there's no question on whether that is a grievance or not in the first place. I also wanted to add amendments and new concepts which would help clear out the convolutions which are already in Title VII, which messed up the election process this term, and to make sure that the power is balanced out and there's a check and balance in the system.
I personally believe in solving the problem before we have to get to grievances. And by doing that, we would have to definitely better communicate our ROPs and make them a lot more specific. That way, everyone's aware of the rules, and if you get to the point where there's a grievance filed, there's no miscommunication as to whether or not they were informed
I think to go off of what they're saying, the grievances more so it needs to be changed. Like obviously these are hard to follow because they're so precise. For example, one of the grievances was for a lady wearing a shirt that represented one of the candidates in the computer lounge. She was obviously doing homework and she was written up for that. So there's just silly rules that needs to be taken out. Is that done?
Yeah.
Or like to be amended more so they're more fitting to our school.
First, I'm going to say that there were way too many allegations. So I believe that we should have some way to filter through all of the less serious allegations, like giving them to, say, the judicial branch or Esgato. And that's just how I feel about it.
So as I mentioned earlier, I think the lack of an adversarial procedure for the ERC is a real problem because it limits the candidate's right to defend themselves. I also think a problem is communication between the ERC, the candidates, and the voters. And what I mean by that is we have 25 pages in Title VII, and how many of us that ran for even Senate actually know what is in all 25 pages of those? Prior to running, I would have said that. I don't got it,
Senator Johnson.
I yield my time to
President Coco.
Senator Johnson. So how would you define a celebrity?
I will not accept that question.
So in terms of the election process, what do you feel the student body needs to know about the election process? Give me one or two things.
Start with you, Mr. Longo.
I think a good start would be them actually knowing who's running and what they stand for. I think right now people, especially for Senate at least, people are running based off popularity contest. They look at the ballot, it's the name they know. So I think it would really help if the ERC could be more of an information body and less of a regulatory body, and we could transfer the regulations to someone else, and that might help with the adversarial procedures as well.
My opinion is that there should be more marketing and for the elections, because it is my understanding that somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 people voted out of the entire student body. So we need to market as best as we possibly can.
To answer your first question, what a celebrity is, I would feel that a celebrity is someone who has notoriety and fame across the country, not just in a certain small area. They would have to be influential on people and like the cultures that we have. So that would be a celebrity. And the second question, to get people more aware of the voting and the candidates and what they stand for, we should like email them your resumes and what you stand for, or maybe like a short video where everyone gets a video of the candidate.
I think the most important thing would be to educate students on ROPs. I mean, they're not going to want to read through all 25 pages, but there's a lot of things that they might see, kind of like with the celebrity thing, it's up to their interpretation. They can kind of gauge on themselves, well, if I think that this is the way it is and I don't agree with them and how they're viewing the ROPs, then that could affect the voting.
Moving on to what President Coco asked about the celebrity question. Honestly, when the election, the training was going on, I didn't even know we were not allowed to bring celebrities. I just thought we were not allowed to use figureheads. And beside that, I think the student body should know about the platforms each student is running for and know what each student stands for, and not only vote based off who they know, then more about what they stand for and what they can do for the student body population.
I don't believe it's the responsibility of the student government or the ERCs to provide the platforms. It's the responsibility of the campaigns. That's their job, is to get their message out. As for what the ERC and student government can do to improve, providing a forum for them to get their message out, such as debates and more of that. But in addition to that, making the rules of procedure clear to not only the candidates but the student body, because the student body needs to understand what's going on, because that's what was part of the confusion, was no one knew if these were actual grievances, especially just a regular student who has no knowledge of student government.
Senator Yolo.
How close did you guys follow the elections and all the grievances and everything last year?
Starting with Senator Shipley.
I actually worked with a former senator in IT. We were following all last year, all this last election cycle, checking the Oracle every day for updates, checking every day for those grievances to be posted on the SU webpage. So very closely, I guess, would be, or daily would be the best way to put it. And also, it was my election, so I was following it pretty closely, to be honest.
I read the Oracle every morning, and when the first thing came out, oh, there are grievances, I was thinking, is that me? You know, and after the court hearing went on, that's where I met Senator Malang, and we were both discussing, oh, they're talking about this, and that's what we read in the Oracle. So I've been following the Oracle, and I've been to the hearing where there was the hearing where.
Okay. I personally was very involved with the elections last year. I myself was running for Senate, so I was very interested in seeing who was going to be the next leader of our student body. However, it doesn't matter why I was paying attention to it. The fact is that there was a lot of miscommunication from every single angle, and students really didn't understand what was going on. So I think that's what I was paying attention to.
When I ran for Senate, I was very informative, and I questioned the people that I knew that knew the rules, and I made sure that I wasn't breaking any. Also, I read the Oracle every time a new grievance was followed, and I read those. I was pretty aware of that. I also worked for the campaign for one of the people that ran, and I was pretty aware of what was going on.
I worked, as I said previously, I worked closely with one of my brothers, who's now an alumni. That was one of the lead campaign managers for the Cocoa White campaign. So I heard about all of the 17 allegations, was it? And I was also very interested in joining student government.
So similar to the rest of the senators up here, I was following the election extremely closely. And what is disheartening, and it kind of reaffirmed it for me hearing everybody else say it, was that we got our news from the Oracle. And I believe at one point we were called, we weren't actually here at the time, but we were called the House of Cards organization, or similar to House of Cards. And I think we have a real problem if people buy into that. I think we really need to get this under control. And I think that's the urgency with which this committee needs to operate, getting it under control.
Okay, there are 34 seconds left in this caucus. So do I see any motions? Senator Chris Johnson.
I move to, in the question and answer period, move on to a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time.
Any objections to a 10-minute moderated caucus with 1 minute speaking time? Seeing none, may the candidates please leave the room. Senator Johnson, since you made the motion, you have the floor.
So I think it's pretty clear that Senator Malega is going to get on this.
What was your motion?
Motion for 10-minute moderated with 1 minute.
Moderate for like to endorse a candidate, like for a candidate, or just?
Oh, I think he just said discussion in general.
Okay.
Would you what?
I mean, go ahead.
I guess there's something. I mean, you could make a motion.
All right. Okay. I move to have a 10-minute moderated discussion on all the senators in question with the one line.
Can you make a motion to end the discussion period?
I make a motion to end the discussion period.
Any objections to ending discussion period? Seeing none, discussion has ended. Any new motions? Senator Johnson.
I make a motion for a 10-minute moderated discussion on all the senators present who are running for the position with a 1 minute speaking time.
So, just for clarification, 1 minute speaking time.
Per speaker to speak on each of the individual candidates.
So you want 1 minute per candidate?
1 minute. 1 minute for each person making a point.
Pretty much endorsements or like person?
Yes, endorsements
like,
is fine. Yes,
I like XYZ. 1 minute per.
So 1 minute per candidate. Is that what you're?
I'd like people to get up and speak for 1 minute at a time and sit back. So what do I have to say for that?
Okay, so you just want to, so essentially what we had before, just open discussion.
Yes, 10-minute open moderated discussion with 1 minute speaking.
Okay, so it's not endorsement, it's discussion.
Just,
Okay,
yes, just
any objections? Seeing none, we're back where we, Senator Zeva?
Question.
Yes.
When the actual voting takes place, do we vote on one candidate? Do we vote at multiple
No.
candidates? How does that happen?
Well, really quickly, I'll just answer since you asked. Well, the way it's going to work is we're going to vote on one seat at a time. So we'll start with seat number 1, and we'll vote until someone has a clear majority. and then we'll do the same thing for C2 and C3. Senator Johnson.
So, I think it's pretty clear that Mr. Malinga has this in the bag. He seems to be the most passionate and given in this position. The other two senators are more of an issue, though. Personally, just knowing Senator Seitz very well, both her new approach, being a new senator, I think is going to be important to someone who served so closely in the election process last year. So I would personally give her endorsement. I very much respect her. The other senator, though, Senator Hassan, she's a really dedicated person and she wants to be involved in a lot of stuff, but I'm afraid she's a little too much involvement going on in the Senate right now. So I personally would endorse Mr. Shiflett as the third candidate simply because he provides a little bit of objective logic that I think this committee could use.
Senator Yolo.
I personally agreed with him for the candidates. I think Mr. Malinga came up, he had his presentation ready. He knew what he wants to see for the Title VII review for next year. He really knows his stuff on this, and it's something that he's really passionate about, and I think he can make a great addition to. Senator Seitz, she really spoke passionately about how she oversaw it, how different aspects she actually wants to change, the simplicity of understanding what it actually says to prevent problems in the future. It's very important to get into Title VII. And the last thing was Shiflett. I think the way he said it is he wants things very simple. He wants things to the point where anyone who's running can just understand exactly what there is. There's no controversy. It's all simply put so that everybody can read. There's no arguing about what the rules actually say.
Thank you. Senator Hibba.
I have to say that I agree with the previous speakers in that Shiflett seems like it would make a really good choice for this committee. As someone who has coded in the past, I can tell you that when you code, you have to make everything precise. Definitions have to fit into it, or else the computer doesn't understand. And based on his experience, I feel like that would contribute a lot to it.
Thank you. Pro tempore Aziz.
So in terms of logic and critical thinking, I guess the candidates that stood out were Mr. Malinga for me. Since being on the Rules Committee, he has some sort of understanding of rules as it is right now, and seems to be really interested in the process. And also Mr. Shiflett seemed very similar line of thinking as Mr. Malinga, a critical thinker. And also, another perspective, Mr. Gluck. Law is kind of his major, so seems to have a good understanding of law and reasoning. So just my logical choices.
Senator Sanchez.
I'd just like to say I nominated Senator Seitz. I believe she would be great for this position. She followed the election closely last semester. She was kind of involved in the whole process. She went to all the hearings and saw it kind of from the beginning to the end. I had a class with Senator Shiflett. I believe he knows what he's doing. He's passionate. He won't let things slip through the cracks. He'll do it the right way. And I believe Senator Malinga, he's already in the Rules Committee. He knows what he's talking about, and he has a vision for what he wants to do, and he'll get it done.
Senator Trump.
So first, you guys say more about Senator Malinga. I agree with what everyone else has said about him. I think he definitely wants to learn, and he has a desire to. Along with that, Senator Seitz, she also seems very passionate about this. She really wants it. And what I really like about her is that she wants to be proactive rather than reactive with every new elections. Senator Gluck, I believe that since he is going into law, he has the experience, he knows how to read, he knows how to write, and he's really dedicated. He's always opinionated within my committee, so I support him wholeheartedly.
Senator Yaloa.
If there more discussion, I'd like to go into voting.
Any objections to moving into voting? Seeing none, we'll now start moving into voting. Like I said before, the way this will work is we will vote per seat until one candidate has a majority vote for each seat. So you're pretty much voting on the best person 3 times, if that makes any sense. Give me 1 second to type everyone's name, please. So just as clarification, click 1 for Malanga, 2 for Miller, 3 for Gluck, 4 for Seitz, 5 for Hassan, and 6 for Shiflet. Oh, and to abstain, if you, I didn't put an abstention, but I'll verbally abstain. Has everyone put in their votes? Okay, with a vote of 10 for Malanga, 0 to Miller, 1 to Gluck, 1 to Seitz, 2 to Hassan, and 2 to Shiflet, we are now in a runoff between Malanga, Hassan, and Shiflet. Mr. Yulov.
What was the number needed for?
The number needed is 13 votes.
I'd like to reestablish quorum because of all that voting.
No problem. Please click one if you're present. We currently have 17 people in the room. Means you'll need a vote of 9 people in order to have the majority.
We have to re-vote on that one? Or?
Yes, you do. Okay, so the runoff is between Malanga, Hassan, and Shiflet. Click 1 for Malanga, 2 for Hassan, and 3 for Shiflet. 4 to abstain. Has everyone clicked in? With a vote of 13 to 1 to 2 and 1 abstention, Senator Malanga is the first senator on the ad hoc. We'll now vote on the remaining senators. Okay, please click 1 to vote for Senator Miller, 2 to vote for Senator Gluck, 3 to vote for Senator Seitz, 4 for Hassan, 6 for Shiflet, and 5 for Shiflet, and 6 to abstain. Has everyone voted? Take that as a yes. Okay, we're now in a runoff between Senator Gluck and Senator Seitz. Okay, please click 1 for Senator Gluck, 2 for Senator Seitz, and 3 to abstain. Has everyone voted? Oh, it's on the wrong slide. Okay, here we go. There we go. All right, with a vote of 10 to 6 to 1 to okay. Senator Gluck is now in seat 2. Now we will vote on the last seat. Okay, please click 1 for Seitz, 2 for Hassan, 3 for Shiflett, or 4 to abstain. Has everyone voted?
We're not putting the layer to this.
Oh. I made a mistake. Thank you for pointing that out, Corey. Okay, once again, 1 for Seitz, 2 for Hassan, 3 for Shiflett, 4 for Miller, and 5 to abstain. Okay, everyone has responded. With a vote of 9 to 2 to 5 to 0 to 1, the third seat is Emily Seitz. I will go ahead and let them in and announce. Everyone come in? Just go to the front and I'll announce it.
Up here.
So the 3 senators that have been chosen for the ad hoc on the election process are Senator Malanga, Senator Gluck, and Senator Seitz. Congratulations. You can also Okay, moving on with the agenda. Announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? President Coco.
I'll make this quick. Chris Johnson has to get on the road before that. Thank you all for participating in orientation yesterday. So thank you for that. We're doing it again Thursday. So you can come out. We have new lanyards for those who didn't get one. I want to give a shout out to our Graduate Professional Student Council representative, PR. Thank you for coming out. Shout out to our advisor, as always. And if you guys ever have any questions regarding the hiring process, confirmations, or whatever, I'm here. Send me an email. Let's sit
Thank you. Senator Johnson.
Yeah, also make a couple shout outs. So inside my committee, part of my goal of being the chair of appropriations and audit, get more people involved with both the appropriating and the auditing process. So just so everyone knows, Senator Sanchez and Senator Gibson, who's not here right now, works really closely with FBLA to get that through, and they did a really good job with that. Senator Senator Sanchez is also going to start working with the Tango Club pretty soon, so he's doing that. Senator Hassan is going to be working with the Vietnamese Student Association. Senator Lopez is going to work one-on-one with the executive branch, so we get some more info on that. And Senator Miller is also working with the Academy of Managed Care Pharmacy. So I just want you guys to know that it's not a one-man job, that we're all doing a really good job, and thank you guys very much for doing so good.
Okay, really quickly, I have two announcements. The first one is our next Senate meeting, June 24th, 2014, 6 p.m. right here. So that's in 2 weeks. You have the next week off. Another thing is congratulations to everyone that's on the ad hoc. And two more things. July 8th, no Senate meeting. Remember that. And the last thing is, I just realized we forgot to have a moment of silence for the people that we passed the resolution for.
Resolution specifies for June 24th.
Oh, June 24th. Oh, well, thank you for clarifying that. So just kidding. So moving down, any more announcements? Pro Tempore Aziz?
Alright, so if you want to be Sergeant at Arms, be in charge of clickers, be in charge of the door, send an email, first person that sends an email probably will get it. So, and he's waiting, check out his inbox, so.
Right now.
Yeah, so. Other than that, all the committees are doing pretty well, senators are getting involved. Want more opportunities, any ideas, doors always open, so.
Okay, moving on. Any more announcements? So, moving on, we'll do final roll call. Everyone get your clickers out. Please click 1 if you are present. Senator Senator Johnson.
I move to adjourn.
Any objections? With that, we are now adjourned at 9:35 p.m.
Hey, congrats. Seriously.
We'll talk about it. The thing is, okay, so my initial thought, it was probably a little bit after this, right, that I set up my schedule for this summer. My initial thought was, well, I knew July 8th was out of the question because this room is reserved for something else happening that day. My initial thought was to ask Greg right away, hey, this would be a great time to do a Senate meeting on athletics. I asked him, he told me I'm not going to work for athletics because there's something that was on there that Tuesday night. So, there was nothing in the morning. Nothing big enough.
Alright, let's bring them up to the suite.
Is there any way we can meet?
I'll talk to the scheduler, but
I understand. I mean, what I would recommend is giving her a couple of Senate dates. And I mean, I'm sorry.
no, it doesn't actually solve it.
Anyway, technical point is,
We'll figure it out. Okay.
Mike is like,
You're the first person I saw, so I just emailed Anthony.
Specifically warned about that.
Wait, Andy, do you want that in your Hotmail or your USF?
Outlook email.
At USF.
Okay.
And give us a picture of yourself too. For background check.
Yo, you didn't even do selfie Monday.
I forgot.
You're gonna tell me.
Oh my god. You're on there too. I want to
No, we can't do selfie Tuesday until the 24th.
How often are you in your office?
Every day, Monday through Friday. Hours vary. Why?
Associate for organization.
Victor.
You're here before.
You're mine first.
You realize what time orientation starts, right?
Yes, class.
Orientation starts at 5:30 in the morning. Oh, before that, I was in class. No, I wasn't even supposed to show up to the orientation stuff. I got like 5:30. Oh yeah.
What?
Dude, so must have rest. I was trying to learn the civil roast. No, dude, there was a lot of funny things in it. Carlos? Like, honestly, dude, the funniest thing when Kristen,
Okay,
look, that's a great point. That's a good point. I don't really know the other.
Or as the other candidates, like, can you also read and write?
I wish I should have.
Yes.
According to Kristen,
Do we know that all candidates are literate?
That Gluck can both read and write. Do you have any proof of your literacy?
How high can you count to? Can you count to this many?
How many figures?
Really quick.
I was like, true. There's a lot of funny ones.
Thank you, sir, for all the interviewing and all the work you've done so far.
It's thank you. Still good.
Thank you, Greg, for doing
Bro, what are we gonna hear about college leadership Florida? I don't know.
Did you get a response from?
Yeah, where she was like, yeah, we're gonna college leadership Florida. It's like this program. Did you not get about
One other hour. You have them in order. Did you save all the?
No, he said.
The rest is okay.
Yeah, and then make sure not to point people.
Yeah, she's freshman too.
Oh yeah.
I have 2 points off.
She actually will be
The fourth term. No, for running for president.
she'll be appointed by tomorrow.
I didn't do that.
I'm just saying. I have 2 points.
You'll be getting email from me. I can hold you off until after this.
Let me know. CC him.
Yeah.
CC him on
I'm
those
just saying,
graduate emails.
I had to.
So
Well,
I
I'm
keep
just
him up to
saying.
date.
He was like cheerleader. She was like,
I was slightly in a position, not the same, but a little bit of position. It really, we always have to take into account when somebody is speaking, it's more a reflection of them than us. And we have to keep us separate from it so that we can be objective to it and say, oh, well, if I look.
you got out of your first meeting, right?
I didn't send it to you. A, the stuff that I sent to my committee, and I sent you the GPA report for free. 6 out of 12, you hit 319 average, but
6 out of 12?
But 6 out of 12 sigmas.
Oh, I thought you said, what? How did you do?
3.19.
How did you do that? Pretty good.
That's better than last session. Thank you for that. Alright. Our active, our non-new member computers are 3.3.